welcome into the Monday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will, here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Taking your thoughts all show long on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, what's going on, brother? How we doing?
Doing all right. How was you were wedding? Is it officiant?
Efficient, yes.
Officiant or efficient?
Efficient, yes.
You officiated a wedding.
I did on Friday. They were successfully married. I did not screw anything up. And now the happy couple is a couple days into marriage now. It all went well.
So every single word was perfect.
Actually, yeah, I did a pretty good job. If I do
Nice.
need to say so myself. It went a lot better than I thought it would.
Good job.
Yeah. I studied. I prepared. I was like Peyton Manning on that wedding script. It went well.
Nice.
Even overcame some adversity. Some kids were running around and disconnected my microphone and then plugged said microphone back in, and it fried the microphone. So I just projected the voice, and it went well. Everybody said they heard me. So
Okay.
they could be lying, but
So you actually had to react too, like Peyton Manning.
Oh, yeah.
You can, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth.
that's right.
And then you still
Just
were
gotta keep
able.
going.
You were still able to play the game.
That's right.
That's good.
Went well.
Nice.
Even had some people reach out on Twitter afterwards and look ahead to maybe some future wedding services for old Robby Stanley. So we'll see what
Really?
happens on that front. Yeah,
Maybe you should start a Cameo page
maybe so.
as a wedding officiant.
Yes.
Nice.
See what happens on that
Okay.
front. Could have been the start of something special on Friday.
Look at the puzzled expression on Porth's face.
English, please, Joe.
I asked, is it it's officiant?
Officiant, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Well done.
It's just weird, though, isn't it? A little bit?
Oh, it's a little weird. Yeah. I didn't really know what to call myself.
Officiator.
Officiator. I did that a couple times. But yeah, everything went well. All good. Lost River Cave, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Pretty cool venue.
So they actually, they normally do. They have. This is a wedding venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it went very well. So
It is a great
congratulations to
Cave wedding.
congratulations to Gunnar and Caitlin. Married on Friday. Ryan Porth, how was your weekend?
It was good.
Taking a little Nashville SC action yesterday.
You know,
It was
when
destruction of DC United.
when you attend a soccer game, you don't expect to see 7 goals, but there we were last night enjoying 7 goals, 5-2 win for NSC.
Yeah, that's all great. I am the last person to remain scoreless in the NSC Pick to Click brought to you by Camarena Tequila. By the way, the listeners, again,
They're
Mitch
kicking our butt.
on Friday, CJ Sapong. So that's 5 for the listeners. Hani Mukhtar scores, which, by the way, was a beautiful goal yesterday.
Well,
That was Ryan Porth's selection, so he is now on the board. So the standings are 5 for the listeners, 1 for you, Porth, and Michelle, 0 for Robby Stanley. 0. Ake Loba. I can't do that anymore.
I would have texted some trash talk, but my phone was in a Ziploc bag because we were sitting in the rain.
Yeah.
So if
You
it
just
weren't
decided
for,
to hold on to just actually
Exactly.
say
Till
it.
right now.
yeah.
Probably smart. With the listeners, all credit to them. Good job. 5, that's great. But, I mean, if you have the first pick in a soccer pick to click,
That's true.
right?
So should we switch it up?
I mean, have they not had basically Mukhtar
or Sapong.
or Sapong?
Well, I will
you know what I
say-
mean? Like, it's kind of inherent in the way it goes. that
It
they
is,
would
but I will
blow us
say,
away.
not this time, but the time before, listeners were a little late calling in, and they had the last pick, and they had Spong, and he scored.
Well,
So
there,
maybe it's just us.
Well, there you go then. Yeah, I mean, Sapong is not. I mean, I know he's on a tear now,
Yeah.
absolute tear. That hadn't been necessarily a gimme. Mukhtar's been a gimme all along, and usually it feels like they go with Mukhtar.
Yeah. He's been a very popular selection in this competition.
The goal or the play leading to it was his goal, right?
Yeah.
Where everyone touched it. I retweeted it. Ben Wright tweeted like the whole. That was pretty fantastic. Almost a brutal giveaway, and then it turns into that goal, which was pretty.
So another big win for Nashville SC at home last night against DC United, 5-2. The final score at Nissan Stadium. So big weekend for Nashville SC. And a big weekend for the Tennessee Titans as well. A 23-3 win on Friday against the Atlanta Falcons in Game 1 of the 2021 NFL preseason. Joe Rexrode, as you watched the game take place, obviously a bunch of key guys, especially offensively, were not there. We knew that heading into the game that they would not be playing. I thought a pretty good performance from the Titans from start to finish. What were a few things that really stood out to you in the Titans in their victory on Friday night against Atlanta? Old Arthur Smith and company down there with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, just taking it to Arthur Smith and DPs. Right. I felt like a little bit, maybe like Vrabel didn't love all the blitzing Dean Pease did in the game. He said he blitzed the bleep out of Logan Woodside. Yes. But, I mean, hey, that's a great look too, right? I mean, that's a great look for a young QB and for a totally reserve offensive line. I mean, one guy in that offensive line the Titans might want to see on the field this year. You know, I mean, Quessenberry has proved himself as a quality backup. But other than Quessenberry and Dylan Radunz, the rookie, on the right side to start the game, and everybody else is either not going to make the team or maybe one or two of those guys may have a chance to be on the roster. But for the most part, it's guys who are not going to be even on the team this year playing offensive line. So one of my takeaways is, I mean, Logan Woodside I thought was really good. I thought Logan Woodside kind of showed why he's doing what he's doing, which is holding on to that job and outlasting whoever else the Titans bring in to play against them. Although I thought Matt Barkley looked good too.
Yep.
But you got to remember, I mean, Woodside actually saw some defensive players who will play this year for the Falcons, and Barkley basically didn't. And it was the same offensive line situation, essentially, for both of them. Obviously, Rashad, I mean, the defensive line dominated. So what does that mean? I mean, it's not even their starters. I don't know, but I think Rashad Weaver showed like why he was drafted where he was and why he could definitely be the third guy this year. I mean, I mean, if there's one like on-field impact performance from that game, I would have to go with him.
Yeah.
You know, I also another guy who and by the way, if we go back to last week, rolled the tape when I said guys you may not think about who could make this team. Trevon Coley was one of the guys I listed.
You did.
And you saw him, and you saw why, and now we may not see him again, unfortunately for him. So that's a brutal injury. I mean, if Dr. Robert Anderson is looking at you,
it's not a name you want to hear.
It's never a name you want to hear. And that's too bad because, you know, I think he clearly would have been. I mean, I think he and Murchison are the fourth and fifth guy, probably him fifth, but that's a good five. You know, and
sure.
So I mean, now at this point, you probably pivot from that, and it's a tough break for him. But that whole, I mean, I thought there were a lot of good moments for a lot of those guys. Then you wonder, okay, you look at specific situations. Okay, who exactly were they? Who were they going against? You know, they weren't going against all pro, you know, offensive linemen, but it was still an overall, like, I thought, encouraging performance. I mean, David Long is another guy who's been good in camp. David Long has been working on pass coverage. David Long has a really nice zone drop and makes a play.
So that was his first interception since high school from David Long. It's a good play.
It's like Luke Stocker getting the ball in Houston, you know? Yeah, you can always rediscover that magic. But no, it was a good play. Obviously, Mason Kinsey, and we'll talk more about him, you know, later in the show. I mean, he was good. You just have to, you know, you have to kind of look at this in terms of, I mean, there are some people who are going to make plays in preseason games because, like, it's that time of a game and these guys are in camp and good for them, but, like, what does it really mean? Also, I look at who doesn't get much work. I mean, really, like, the way guys were played in this game kind of tells you a little bit about the roster, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kevin Byard and Jack Rabbit Jenkins, yeah, they get a series, and then, come on, guys. At receiver, Marcus Johnson, would he get a series?
Yep.
Nick Westbrook-Akina, did he get a series? So what does that tell you? I mean, to me, that tells you that they have a certain status, not the status of like guys who didn't even show up, like their entire offensive starting group.
Sure.
You know? But, you know, like those guys they kind of have established themselves. But but then you go to like someone like Des Fitzpatrick, who doesn't even get on the field until way late in the game. And that kind of tells you with him too, and everything that people are talking about tells you. I mean, they're looking for a lot more from him right now.
I was interested to see when Felipe Franks got in the game for Atlanta, what that would look like, because we had some people on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and we talked about it back in the draft process. Like, if you're the Titans, could it be worth taking a flyer on Felipe Franks in like the 6th or 7th round? Had a nice run, but him throwing the ball was an adventure on Friday night. That was something.
He did give him a good look from a scrambler perspective.
He did.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, was that Franks or was it McCarron? The Borders, Breon Borders had a pick, but actually it was overruled. I think that was McCarron.
I think it was
just
McCarron.
An awful throw.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's one of those plays where it's like, hey, but again, Borders has been playing well. Borders has been making plays. Here's another play he makes, but also it was like you basically turn around and it's so underthrown you can't quite even pick it off. Who knows who the heck he was trying to throw that ball to? Yeah, Franks needs some work. I was on the, you know what? It wouldn't be the worst idea to give Franks a look. Massive arm and athlete, but yeah, is he ever going to be a guy you can rely on to just get the ball out accurately, consistently? I don't know.
2 of 9.
It's early.
It's early.
Yeah.
Just one game.
It's early.
He's got a lot of
And
time.
he was going up against that salty Titans defense.
That's right.
Let's not forget that.
Got to keep that in mind. We'll continue the discussion on the Titans when we come back in Game 1 of the preseason against the Atlanta Falcons. Who stood out to you? What were your takeaways from the Titans in Game 1 on Friday night? Hit up our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, taking your reaction to the Titans, a 23-3 win in Game 1 of the preseason against the Falcons on Friday night. And as we know, Joe Rexrode, the final score in the preseason, very important. Titans get it done. Their path to an undefeated preseason still on the table.
Big time. Texans.
Yeah, Green Bay Packers could not stop the Houston Texans.
You must be pretty upset.
Worried. Yeah.
Like, you got to be worried about this year. Texans smoked the Packers.
26-7. The AFC South's going to be much tougher than we thought.
Man, seriously. I mean, what did Davis Mills? You were just telling me.
He's 11-22.
Hey, that's
50%, baby.
That's fine. That'll work.
Tyrod Taylor's 4 for 4.
So combined, that's more than 50%.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
The Titans are on their way to a 23-0 season.
That's right. Just chalk it up, baby.
I'd like to read from Chris on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
All right.
Here's my take from the weekend. I bet Mukhtar could make a 70-yard field goal. Surely the Titans can pay more than NSC, right? How about that? Well, what about the kickers they have? Were you not impressed?
Yeah.
Were you not impressed with the kickers? And I wasn't.
They made everything.
Well, Ficken's extra point, though, you're like, gosh, he does hate extra points, doesn't he? He darn near missed that
It went in
one.
there, though.
Other than that, they all look good. I thought McCann looked good.
I thought he did, too.
And then you get the Titans kicker curse comes back into play.
And he was not out there yesterday.
Not out there yesterday. So tonight we'll be out at Nissan Stadium. Fans can be out there, by the way. So you have to get a ticket, though. So you got to – I think you can probably do it at the gate, I'm guessing, like just do it on your phone. But you have to, like, get a free ticket. I guess so they can, keep track of the heads in the stadium. But 5 to 7 tonight. So we'll see if McCann's out there. But, he's probably going to be out a little bit. You hope for his sake it's not too long because he's really coming on right now.
And then another unfortunate situation for the Titans on Friday night as well, as Brad in Clarksville on the text line points out. Is there an update on Darrington Evans? I'm starting to doubt Evans and his injury situation. He did look all right up until the point he pulled a hammy. And I don't know that he necessarily has pulled a hammy in that, but
they said it's a knee.
Yeah, it's a knee. But that was the problem last year with Evans was the hamstring. But up until that point, 4 carries, 26 yards. It's about a 6.5 yard a pop. Had a 15-yard run in there too. But he's got to get to the point where he can stay healthy if he's going to be this weapon offensively that I think all of us believe that he can be when healthy.
Well, so he's a great example of, one, he would have gotten, I think, a lot of work, and he would have done well. He was doing well. You could see it. I mean, he's got an extra gear that I'm not going to say none of the other backs have. I mean, Derrick Henry's gear is totally different, but you can see why he could be a weapon. This is also, I'm sure at some point Vrabel's like, well, there's why I don't play the main guys in the preseason, although it was just a weird non-contact thing anyway. It looked exactly like a hamstring to me. But, obviously it could be a little knee tweak, and I don't know. He didn't look like he was – I mean, it's not like they took him out of there or acted like it was anything that significant. So, I mean, it's early to say, okay, Darrington Evans is just an injury-plagued player. I mean, Corey Davis missed a lot of his rookie year because of a hamstring. And he had his share of things and eventually got through it and became a good player.
Now he's a top 100 player in the NFL.
Yeah, that was interesting. Did not see that one coming.
I did not see that one coming either.
Yeah.
Maybe that move to the New York Jets starts to open people's eyes, I guess.
I guess I would think that a receiver would need to get 1,000 yards in a season.
I would think so.
To be a top 100 player in the NFL. But, hey. Good for Corey. Just being associated with the Jets automatically elevates you in this league. It's just a special organization.
Wait a minute. Corey Davis was ranked in the top 100?
Yes, he was.
Well, you were all busy watching soccer, and you weren't watching the top 100.
The NFL 100 came out. I guess the NFL Network put that together.
Was it the back 50 yesterday?
Yeah.
I don't think they got top 50s today. Is that okay?
Corey Davis is I can't remember exactly what he was, but he was 91
91,
or
I think. Yeah. Yep.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Yeah, it happened. Jared responded very well to it on Twitter.
Did he? I haven't seen Jared's tantrum.
That is
my
ridiculous.
Number 91, Corey Davis in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a bit of a reach.
It says on the NFL Network Twitter account, quote, a new team and an NFL Top 100 new face. New York Jets wide receiver Corey Davis debuts at number 91.
Oh, here's Jared. What? Absolutely laughable. I mean, it's not worth getting mad about, right? It's just a bad.
It's pretty funny.
I mean, there's got to be something. There's a couple things every year, at least in these top 100 lists, that are just like, what?
Yeah,
That's
Bad
one of
or
them.
good. Yeah, this is one of them.
That is
now.
absolutely one of them.
Yeah.
Who knew the Titans let such a good player just walk out the door?
What I need to do, if I cared enough about the top 100 list, is like look at, the list of receivers who didn't make it, who are absolutely better than him.
Like Nick Westbrook-Akina?
It's probably good.
Wow.
Well, there you go. I was going to say, where's NWI? Well, who knows? Maybe he's in the top 50. We don't know.
That's true.
Until I see the top 50, I don't know that Nick Westbrook-Akina is not in the top 50.
That is true. That's a good point.
But I think that's a little high for him. He's probably more like 75 to 85 range.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown, I think, came in at like number 62 or something like that. I have to go back and look exactly where he was. But A.J. Brown on the list, too.
Is that appropriate? Is that about right for him?
Actually,
That might be a little low.
Maybe a little low.
Maybe a little low. We'll see.
I mean, J.J. Watt was ranked ahead of A.J. Brown, so there's that.
All right, this list.
Another list to get mad about. See, this is supposed to be the great thing about football. Like we have games, like we have stuff that's real. But these lists, man, these lists can't help but just become this big deal.
Yeah.
Who does this, by the way? This is the players, right? Isn't that right? This is actually players voting. Yes, intern Will, thank you. Players voting on this. So
yeah, so
that's
the players love Corey Davis, man.
Well, I'll trust
Corey Davis is
guys.
a good player.
He is a good player. He had his breakout season last year, right?
Sure.
Well, I mean, now that he's
Port's
gone,
been this disgusted since the Titans signed Vic Beazley.
where's he
I
on
haven't been
here?
this disgusted since I watched Vic Beazley attempt to play football, kind of, sort of,
Yeah.
in a Titans uniform.
Where's he on this? Well, I keep asking this, and we haven't seen the top
50's
50.
not there
Vic
yet.
Beazley wouldn't crack the top 1,000.
How many players are in the NFL? Is Vic Beazley in the NFL?
No, I don't think. Is he still with the Raiders?
I don't know.
Well,
There's
check
so
on
many.
that.
I mean, there's so many things to try to track right now.
Are you
I
telling
don't
me
know.
he could be out there and could be available for the Titans?
Well,
He's a free agent. No one signed him.
okay.
53 times 32 is 1,696. Vic Beazley is not in the top 1,700 in the NFL.
I mean, he's not in the NFL, so you're right.
You're technically correct. Let's go back to the
What
text
if he
line.
were? Yeah.
No, he wouldn't.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jordan texting in. Tim Tebow needs to quit football. His blocking attempts were not very good. They went viral.
I saw the one where
There was one that was worse.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Next play.
the one where he sort of got a guy and then he sort of bumped into his own guy, and
Yeah.
there was a worse one than that.
Yes, that was the next play.
Well, why didn't
Where
that go viral?
Well, it's starting to now.
Okay.
It's wasn't great from Tim Tebow.
I'm sure he's in the top 50.
He could be.
Those motivational speeches. Come on. You got to count that.
Got a texture that says Michael Thomas made the list and only played 7 games. He was way higher than Corey Davis. Michael Thomas is
Well,
actually
Michael
a top
Thomas should
100
be on the
NFL
list.
player.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Thomas has done enough. Obviously, the guy's got to be healthy, but I'm sure there's going to be other players in here who missed part of last year, right, or hurt or whatever, but they're obviously that good. He's one of those guys.
Let's not put Christian McCaffrey on the list because he missed all those games last year.
Right. But I'm sure he'll be like 2 or something because people are just in love with Christian McCaffrey. Good player.
He better not be 2.
Christian McCaffrey was at number 44, so they've gone to number 40. is where
Oh,
they
they've
start
gone that
today.
high.
Yep.
Okay. And so we still haven't seen – I mean, basically it's just a question of Derrick Henry, right? I mean, that's because Simmons is on there. Simmons, what was he, like 83 or something like that?
He was, let's see here. So A.J. Brown was 62. Jeffrey Simmons was 78.
So, I shouldn't say that. Julio Jones, I think. I mean, Julio Jones, right?
Julio Jones is going to
He'll
be
be in
the top
there.
one.
Yeah, he'll be in there.
If Julio Jones is not in the top 100.
And Corey Davis
and
is.
Corey Davis
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the players that are voting on this.
Understand. My question was more like, has he already been in the lower parts? I mean, yeah. But I assume so he's got to be in the top 40. Julio.
Yep. Justin Herbert at
And
number
Derrick
56.
Is that right?
Already.
Ahead of Tannehill.
Yeah.
Where's Burrow?
I've not yet seen Burrow on this list.
And Tannehill's number is what?
Is he on the list?
Yeah. No, he made it, and people are like, okay, so how many quarterbacks who are not as good as him are going to be ranked ahead of him? A lot. A few. A couple.
I'm sure Cam Newton will be in the top 40.
Tannehill's number 83.
Okay, that's the 83.
Yeah.
Tannehill, 83. Now, Tannehill was top 100 last year. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Let's put Cam Newton in the top 40.
Yeah. Well, get Keyshawn
That'll
Johnson
get
to hold this list. He might be in the top 15. Unbelievable.
So, Henry and Julio.
Henry and Julio.
Because, he's like, unless, there's no way Byard's not going to be in it then, huh? Byard's not
Probably
top
not.
100? Byard's not top 100, but Corey Davis is.
Is anybody on
boy.
the Titans offensive line who, just had a 2,000-yard rusher, they ever going to be put in this list? Like no Sapple, no Lawan, Nate Davis.
Taylor Lawan certainly should be on this list, but apparently maybe he's not then, right? Is he going to be top 40?
Is he going to be in the top 40? I doubt it.
Wow.
Maybe he is.
All right, a big old new batch of disrespect for the Titans.
That's
there
right.
you go. And it's from the players in this league. So there you go, Vrabel.
I misspoke earlier. J.J. Watt not ranked ahead of A.J. Brown, but he is number 66 on the list.
And Brown is?
62.
That was a close one.
So J.J. Watt is ranked ahead of Ryan Tannehill.
That is correct.
Way ahead.
Like significantly ahead.
And when he sacks him in the opener, he's going to remind him of that too.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll sack him in the opener and then get hurt and not play the rest of the year.
J.J. Watt is also ranked ahead of Michael Thomas and Jeffrey Simmons. So there you go. Congratulations to J.J. Watt.
Lifetime achievement.
That's right. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. Got more of your thoughts to get to on our text line as well, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025, including which Titans impressed the most on Friday against the Falcons. We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. At Superfan Chrissy on Twitch. Love from Ottawa, Ontario, guys. I'm a Bills fan, but liking the Titans this year. Big CFL fan, too. Glad I found this stream. I have a friend in Franklin and can't wait to get back to Nashville. Great show. I will spread the word to my fellow NFL friends here in Canada. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy.
We appreciate it.
We don't talk CFL enough.
We do not talk a lot of CFL.
How are the Hamilton Tiger Cats doing?
We could check.
Another Ontario city.
Yes.
Joe, you should.
Love Ontario.
You should
Spent a
great
lot of
place.
time there.
replicate Tony Kornheiser at the end of PTI. You should get a Canadian flag for all
Start waving that thing.
the friends in Canada.
Yeah.
We should get a little mini Canadian flag, and we wave it at the end of each show.
That's right.
An ode to our Canadian friends on Twitch.
I think the last time I watched PTI, I think I watched a clip of it when Kornheiser was talking about the Rick Barnes of UCLA thing. And that was like the
Been that
one
long,
time
huh?
in the last 15 years. But I didn't know.
show.
I don't know what you're referencing is what I'm trying to say. But
He says "Good night, Canada" at the end of
The
every
old,
single
little
version
bitty
of
Canadian
PTI.
flag and just starts waving it.
Yeah.
okay. Hey, I love Canada. Love Canada. Big fan.
That's right. Thank you, Chrissy.
I need some poutine in my life. By the way, who was that eating that out of the Stanley Cup? You guys see that?
I did not.
Oh, yeah. Check it out. I'm sure it would be easy. Just here, I'll find it on Twitter. Poutine Stanley Cup. They had a big batch of it in that thing, and they were just crushing. Have you guys had poutine before?
Oh,
That
yeah.
was Matthew Joseph.
Matthew,
Lightning.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. It's a good clip. Okay, yes, on poutine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
you?
bet.
Okay, nice. Let's have a better food day today than Porth slathering brats and ketchup. I thought of this, by the way, Porth. How many times have you
Did
gone to
you just say
Wisconsin? Right?
brats?
Brats. Well, you're the brat with your
The brat.
ketchup on the brat. Anyone who would put ketchup on a brat is a brat. Okay, how about that? When's the last time you go to Wisconsin? Sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and have you ever gone with them to Wisconsin, Porth?
Have I gone with Robby to Wisconsin?
Yeah.
No, but I'm sure if we did, we would have had some brats.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what. You need to take him to Wisconsin, and I want you to order the brats, and I want you to order ketchup, and I want you to see what happens in Wisconsin. It could be violence.
I was about to say, what if he gets jumped?
Well, I mean, it'll be a good story for everybody to share. But it'll probably just be more like just looking at you like you're like a
Just out of
three-headed
disgust.
Martian in a thong. You know, like, what in the hell?
That's a nice mental image right there. Three-headed Martian in a thong. Good stuff.
I mean, it's got to happen. Now we got Porth.
This might be the first time that intern Will is experiencing Porth's laugh like this. And he's just the look of discomfort on his face. Oh, my goodness. What's this laugh?
Sort of like, this is funny, but also a little bit uneasy, a little bit awkward.
Jordan texting in, get you some sauerkraut and spicy brown mustard on that brat.
Exactly. I mean, seriously, like, as someone who's experienced Wisconsin, yeah. You're not,
I'm not the world's
it's not
biggest
even-
sauerkraut fan, but I will say a lot of that is the smell of it. But after you cook them in the sauerkraut, it's fine.
Yeah, but even apart from the sauerkraut, and that's another one where I have no problem with people leaving it. I like it, but that's fine. But ketchup's not fine. It's not okay.
Yes, it is.
Trent on the text line, I like A1 sauce on my brats. What do you think of that?
Okay.
Well, A1.
Again, I'm less offended than ketchup, but it's weird.
That's weirder than ketchup.
I just think, I don't know, man. I can't get there. I can't wrap my head around it. Ketchup on a brat.
This is going to be something that bothers him forever.
It's just,
And I'm here for it.
I mean, Amanda with the salsa. That's interesting, you know?
So this weekend, we are going to Chicago, and we should bring back Wisconsin brats because we typically go up to Wisconsin during a Chicago trip.
Oh, okay. So you have been there
Been where?
to Wisconsin.
Yes.
And you've done ketchup on a brat there in that state while you've been
Yes.
standing in the state.
On Whitewater Lake in Wisconsin.
Well, you found your and what was the reaction?
It's almost
to that?
amazing he didn't get struck by lightning.
Like, did you guys see the fight of the Rams fans?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's what I would imagine happening to you in Wisconsin, but no, didn't.
No.
Very forgiving. You got lucky that day.
Yeah, my extended family does
Did
not
violently.
does not just completely just annihilate me for putting ketchup on brats.
I promise you that.
Or in the words of Joe Rexrode, brats.
I promise you that when they saw you put ketchup on the brat, they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, sure, he's still a nice guy." like your in-laws think less of you because of this. I feel confident in saying that.
You know what? Now that I think of it, there are some other in-laws within the family that do put ketchup on brats.
Joey from Gallatin texting in: ketchup on one side, mustard on the other, relish in the middle. What do you think of that?
On a hot dog?
He did not specify.
On a hot dog, it's
But
fine.
we're talking about brats, so my guess is he's talking about brats.
I don't know why I felt the need to bring this up again, but it's just still bothering me, obviously.
Apparently so.
Sounds like you lost sleep over the weekend over this.
Apparently so.
I slept well. But I knew I had to bring this back up. 'Cause it's got to change, man.
We'll see if we can work on that from Ryan Porth's point of view. Joe, going back to the game on Friday, which I've been trying to get to for the last 5 minutes.
For the last, 2 segments now.
Yes. Who were some of your risers for the Tennessee Titans as you look at the way they performed on Friday? Obviously, not your starting offense in there, so a lot of these things in preseason games you can take with a grain of salt, but some important snaps for guys that as we get down the road here in the regular season could end up playing important roles for this team. Who were some of your risers? Who were some of your bright spots in the game that you took away from the Titans' win against the Falcons?
Well, I did, of course, write about this.
You did.
At The Athletic. But I'm not going to just read off the story.
Sure.
But one guy who was high in the story who I think is worth talking about here is Dylan Raduns. Started at right guard. I think it was 2 series at right guard, and then played right tackle most of the rest of the game. Now, okay, he's going against Tuzar Skipper, for example, former Titan, because half of both of these rosters used to be on the other team that played Friday night. Tuzar Skipper and players around that level who are hoping to make a team. But I don't think there's any doubt watching him that night, you see the progress that Mike Vrabel was talking about before the game. I'm not saying he's ready to start at right tackle or be on a top 100 list, but he's starting to look like an NFL offensive lineman. And I think he's starting to be a real nice example of don't overreact positively or negatively to the real early days in camp, especially for rookies, because you expect them to be swimming and to be trying to figure so much out and then having to go out and play and going against good guys. I mean, he got smoked early in camp by O'Denny, and that guy is another riser to me. And a real reason for that, if you watched Friday, Ola Adeniyi, he was on basically every special teams as far as I could tell. 92 was all over the place with the main guys on special teams. So if he's that kind of a special teams contributor, plus he showed some pass rushing ability. There's a guy early in camp when he burns Raduns, who is this guy who's just crushing Dylan? Well, okay, maybe he's not such a bad football player. But Raduns, I think that was a big night for him. Big step forward. Now a big week here against Tampa Bay guys in Florida. I wouldn't put him on the track right now to be actually competing to start at right tackle in the opener. But now I'm starting to see again where at some point this year that could be a reality.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texter that says, Mason Kinsey stood out for me. I'd like to see him up against better competition to see what he does going forward in the preseason. Good game for Mason Kinsey on Friday night. 4 targets, 4 catches for Mason Kinsey. Was the leading receiver for the Titans in the game, 51 yards. Unfortunately for him, he might just be in a situation where the receiving room in front of him just is what it is, and there may just not be a spot for Mason Kinsey at this point.
Yeah, there isn't one.
Yeah.
And I understand. He played well. He has played well. He's been good in camp. He's a good player. I think the Titans would probably like having him on the practice squad. He'd give you a good look, especially in weeks that you're going against, like a good elusive slot receiver. But this is one of those situations where you have to be careful, to understand what you're watching, and who's playing against who. I mean, it's just the numbers don't add up. And that's even if some surprising things happen at what we thought was the top of the room.
Well, and I think we may have found the Titans punt returner on Friday night as well. Chester Rogers, pretty nice punt return, 57 yards. He was about 2 inches away from breaking that one loose and going for a touchdown, but he seems to be pretty squarely in position to be the punt returner for the Titans, and Chester Rogers, I think, really left no doubt about that on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, because Cam Batson is the other guy returning punts, and he's a little bit shaky back there. He had a little bit of a shaky one on one of his returns, and, of course, we've seen that in the regular season too. So I don't think there's any comparison there, unless there's somebody else in this roster who all of a sudden starts getting reps at punt return, which is a reason to because, look, I mean, if Chester Rogers is punt returner, obviously there's another receiver spot that's gone. It's always possible someone could jump in there, but at this point, I'd be surprised. And so you can lock him in if that's the case. And he's been playing well at receiver too. Yep. I mean, honestly, Marcus Johnson has been the standout. So again, if you're gonna go by a preseason game, people will be like, "Well, Marcus Johnson do anything?" Yeah, again, Marcus Johnson is so highly regarded that he barely played in this game. I mean, but the second after him, I would say Rodgers has been the second best non-A.J. Brown receiver in camp.
Yeah, I would say so, and certainly did not hurt his case on Friday night against the Falcons. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans when we come back. More guys that stood out. Also get to maybe some guys that did not help themselves all that much on Friday night. All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. 1025 The Game is bringing you Nashville's best coverage of training camp, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans, Frontier Basement Systems, the All Things Basement Company, the Trenches Shop Gallery and Boutique, and the Cut Truck Mobile, Nashville's newest barbershop on wheels. You have control of the time and place. Book your appointment at thecutTruckMobile.org. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our text line on the Titans, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. So, obviously, Joe, a guy we talked a lot about to begin the show, Rashad Weaver, a sack and a half in the game Friday. And you could see, to your point earlier in the show, some nice explosiveness from Rashad Weaver. And, look, I don't know that he's going to start the season as the number 3 guy at that position. Maybe he does. But I think certainly Friday night he showed you why he was drafted where he is and on the field what the Titans really like about him, because I thought he was a force pretty consistently for the Titans on Friday night and got home to the quarterback a couple times and had the stat line to show for it as well. Really nice performance by Rashad Weaver on Friday night. Probably, in my opinion, the main guy that stood out in the game for the Titans against the Falcons.
Yeah, I would agree. And he played a lot. Like there's a few guys, obviously in these preseason games, and this is where you get, and frankly, this is a little bit of Mason Kinsey. I mean, you're going to get some guys who are going to get all these opportunities to play, and it helps them. I mean, it puts stuff on tape. This different than last year, same as every other year. All these, John Robinson and his staff, they are now pouring over a video of these other games, to try to find some players who might be exposed, who they could improve their roster with. And in the same way, now the Titans guys are on film, maybe a guy like Mason Kinsey would be attractive enough to another team. I'd be surprised. I think they could get away with putting him on waivers and having him on the practice squad. But point is, there's a lot of guys like that, and then there's a few guys who are important to you, but you really need them to work things out and get better and play a lot of football. I thought Christian Fulton played a lot. Christian Fulton, they took out Jenkins early, right? But Fulton kept playing because he's a guy who needs reps, needs to play, needs to feel it, needs to gain confidence. And actually, I thought Christian Fulton played pretty well. Early on, he got turned around a little bit by Tajay Sharp. I'm like, Arthur Smith coming right out with Tajay Sharp.
Right.
But then it was another. The penalties in this game were just, especially for Atlanta. Overall, again, I think Arthur Smith's going to be a good head coach. He's been impressive at every turn, but man, what a sloppy performance by that team. But there's a guy who Vrabel's is going to be important, but has to play a lot. Rashad Weaver, same thing. Dylan Radunz, I think, same thing. We'll see if he's going to be important, but he could be. He was drafted to be important this year. You're not drafted in the second round if you don't have a chance, and then you just get sort of pushed aside. So that's a guy who – there aren't a lot of them. There aren't a lot of guys who played a ton who are going to be expected to be on the field a lot for this team. But I think that Weaver is definitely one of those guys. And you said he could start at the 3. I assume Bud Dupree is going to be ready to go for the opener. I think at this point he would be on track for that, but we don't know that for sure yet. So Rashad Weaver could be a starter on day 1. That's possible. And honestly, you can see, and this is what I thought about him at Pittsburgh. He was a 4-3 defensive end. Sometimes that doesn't translate, but very physical and big, very powerful at the point of attack, very reliable at setting an edge, and then you see some pass rush ability too. It's a good pick, other than the issues that the Titans didn't know about.
I did think there were some guys on Friday that didn't help themselves all that much, including a draft pick that we're going to talk about shortly here to begin the next hour that barely saw the field at all on Friday night. So we'll get to that a little bit more coming up here in just a few minutes. But, the safety position continues to be really interesting to me. Obviously we talked last week, Tedrick Thompson coming in, Reggie Floyd coming in as well. But Crookshank not available, and then Brady Breeze goes out with an injury. They're in a tough spot at that position after you get outside of the starting two, and then you brought up Matthias Farley a few times as well. But that's a position right now where I don't know how if you're John Robinson and Mike Vrabel, you could be all that comfortable about depth right now at safety.
Well, and they're saying that with their actions because, like you said, Tedrick Thompson, Reggie Floyd come in very early to expect those guys to do much. This will be a really interesting week at safety because, and by the way, there's another guy of the guys I was just talking about. Another guy's Amani Hooker. Amani Hooker played a lot more than Byard did because it's like, okay, he's going to be a starter, but it's worth getting him out there and getting some more reps and just getting him playing the game. But after those two, Cruikshank, again, if he can get back on the field and be healthy, then I think he's got a good chance to make the team still. But obviously, how do you feel comfortable about that if you're them, as much time as he's missed? So they bring in these two guys, then Breeze gets hurt. Farley, by the way, Matthias, M. Farley, was not out there yesterday. So there's going to be some opportunity for those new guys to show something. I think if they had all those guys available on the field, it'd be a pretty good battle. I mean, Tedrick Thompson has done some things in this league, so he's got a chance now. But yeah, it's certainly not like it was when there was some real security with Hooker as the 3, like a year ago, for example. So that's a good point on your part on something to watch this week. Who's out there in Tampa Bay and then who plays in the game. I mean, I'm assuming this game is the most action anyone key on this team will see.
That would be my guess.
Now, how much will that be? I still don't think it'll be much at all with the offensive guys. Maybe a couple of those offensive linemen get a little bit of time if they're healthy enough to do it. But if there's even a remote minor little injury, they're not going to be out there.
Well, and I was also looking Friday night to see what was the opportunity going to look like for Racing McMath. He's a guy that obviously was the story of training camp early on. Not a ton of opportunity for McMath in this game. I think he was targeted maybe twice. I have to go back and look. I think it was twice that McMath was targeted in this game. No catches, not much of an impact on special teams either. So he's a guy that, the first couple of days of training camp we were talking about, man, physically, with the way he's built and everything he brings to the table, maybe a weapon for the Titans, whether it comes on special teams or maybe one day down the line at receiver. And right now, he has fallen off pretty significantly since the beginning of camp, I would say.
Well, when you say, so he has a significant spot right now on special teams.
Right.
I just didn't think he was all that impactful as a gunner, but he was a gunner. They switched on the other side of him during the game, but he was out there. They obviously wanted to get a real extended look at him as a gunner. And, he was okay. He showed speed on one, and he kind of just overran the play a little bit. But I think in general, Vrabel has said it. He wanted to see more physicality and, as he said, violence, in those coverage units. But, yeah, McMath, it's just interesting when you talk about the receiver situation because I think McMath would be a guy you would worry about if you exposed him. More than, some of these other guys who I think certainly a couple of them are probably going to end up on the practice squad, or that would be the plan. McMath is one of those that you're like, Like I could see someone looking at him like, hey, this is a guy with potential, also could be a gunner for us. So I still like his chances to make the team, but it's that room has become easily the hardest to diagnose.
Well, also has become the most interesting as well because maybe even a spot where you were drafted fairly high in this past draft. Maybe your spot on this room is not guaranteed. That was an interesting takeaway I had from Friday night. A very prominent Titans draft pick, not really on the field all that much on Friday night. We'll get to that. Got some of your thoughts to get to on our text line as well coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode live from the Wholesale Link Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, reacting to the Tennessee Titans and their opening preseason win against the Atlanta Falcons on Friday night. Taking your thoughts on our text line all show long, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll be joined, as always, by Corey Curtis to begin the 8 o'clock hour. Corey joins us each and every Monday at 8 o'clock, and he was on the broadcast on Friday night as well. So looking forward to that coming up at 8 o'clock with Corey Curtis. Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texter that says, is Dez Fitzpatrick at risk of not making the roster? I know he's a fourth-round pick, but someone like Kinsey is much more deserving. And Joe Rexrode, Dez Fitzpatrick, not a factor on Friday night. Did not see much of the field for the Titans, and some interesting comments by the head coach as well after the game about Dez Fitzpatrick, saying he's got to show a lot more. We've talked about Fitzpatrick. It's not been an overly impressive training camp for him so far. What did you think of the playing time or lack thereof that Dez Fitzpatrick received on Friday night? What do you think it means about exactly where he is right now with this Titans team?
Well, okay, so let's go to that specific text. And again, when you say Mason Kinsey's way more deserving, I mean, go through the numbers, go through the names. I mean, it's not Mason Kinsey or Dez Fitzpatrick. Mason Kinsey is down the list, guys. Okay, like you got to understand that. And I understand that Mason Kinsey played really well Friday night in the preseason game, made some big plays with backups against backups. And I mean, hey, it's not nothing. He's been good in camp. He's a good young player. It's a heck of a story. Talk about a guy who, played lower level football and has really worked his butt off, but it's not between those two. I mean, go again through the names. A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Marcus Johnson, Josh Reynolds, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chester Rogers, Cam Batson, Dez Fitzpatrick, Racey McMath. I'm at 9.
Yeah.
Who am I forgetting? I mean, they had Cody Hollister out here and had a serious injury. I mean Mason Kinsey. It's just. I mean, look. I would, if I was Mason Kinsey's agent, I'd be like, I would not have liked this particular set. Although I mean, we didn't know it was going to be this competitive either. But I mean, I think he's got a good chance to be on the practice squad here. But on Dez Fitzpatrick separately, yeah. I mean, it's not great. And apparently yesterday, I was not there yesterday, he had 3 straight drops too, to the point where they did a drill over, and again he dropped the pass. So right now he's fighting it. He's probably feeling it. He's listening to it. He understands where he is, and you can't feel great if you're him about the fact that you didn't get on the field until that late on Friday. So is it possible that a 4th-round pick would not make this team? I've discounted that all along, but I don't think it should be discounted anymore.
Yeah, and Mike Vrabel, obviously, I mentioned the strong comments he had after the game on Friday with Dez Fitzpatrick. He was asked once again yesterday after practice about Dez Fitzpatrick, where he is in the process right now, and exactly what he's got to do as he moves forward here throughout training camp. Here's what Titans head coach Mike Vrabel had to say yesterday regarding wide receiver Dez Fitzpatrick.
Yesterday you said Dez Fitzpatrick, he had to do a lot to get increased reps. Are there any small victories or small building blocks that you could pull for him?
Yeah, I mean, that's always, we have to. I mean, but I just was answering the question that's a competitive room. And, you have to, and everybody does. We have to all earn the right to be here each and every day and earn and prove our value to the football team. And there are always small victories along the way. And, whether that's, getting in there and blocking and being positive in blocking. And, we didn't throw the ball much, in the second half. So it wasn't like, there were a lot of guys that we were targeting in the second half of that football game. We wanted to see some of these backs run. And, I'm hopeful that Dez will continue to develop and continue to work and keep fighting and try to earn a spot. And it's like everybody else.
So that was Mike Vrabel yesterday after practice regarding Dez Fitzpatrick. And Look, it's not a good sign he's not in the game. Like, you want your fourth-round pick at wide receiver to be in the game a little bit more, to have a more significant role. Like, that should be a game Friday night if you're Des Fitzpatrick where you're playing for like 3 quarters. I mean, you should be heavily involved in that game. So it's very concerning to me at this point that he's not in there, because that's not a very good sign for the early part of his career. Now, this is what people do during training camp, and they think, all right, just because Des Fitzpatrick didn't play a lot in his first preseason game means that he's absolutely a bust, and it's way too early to get into all that. But certainly it's not been a good start for Des Fitzpatrick at Titans training camp. And I do wonder, like, if you're John Robinson and the room is as competitive as it is, how much do you put into, well, we just used a fourth-round pick on this guy. We've got to keep him around, and we like the potential to see what he has. How do you balance that with, there are obviously guys right now that can help you this year that are going to be way more equipped, I would think, to help this particular football team than Des Fitzpatrick is going to be. How do you balance that if you're Mike Vrabel, John Robinson, and the Titans? That's a tough balance to strike.
Well, if there was no rule that you have to expose guys on waivers, then it'd be an easy choice. You put them on the practice squad, and you work with them, and there's still things that you like about him as a player. That's why you draft him. That's why you moved up to draft him in the 4th round, even though people didn't have him. The draft experts, quote unquote, didn't have him ranked that high. But if the Titans could feel confident about hiding him on the practice squad and working with them, and someday trying to get out of them what they saw in him during the draft process, they would do it. So what if they do expose him? What if they cut him? Is there anybody out there who's going to be like, let's grab that guy for our active roster right now? Maybe. And if you do that, now you just gave up your 4th-round pick. I don't know, though, that it's an interesting. Yeah. I don't know that anyone would, because we'll see. He's got 2 more games here, so people can look at that film, and there may be someone out there who's really hurting for receivers who would take a flyer on him. But I think actually they'd have a decent chance of still having him on the practice squad, and that would be. I mean, look, you don't even want, just like you don't want 4th-round picks or high picks who don't matter to your team. You don't want him on the practice squad, but at least then you keep him around, you have a chance to work with him and try to find the game. But Friday was not, it was not a big surprise based on what we've seen in camp. He just hasn't been bad. Look, think back to last year, a guy who, frankly, I just thought was going to be cut because he was just bad, was Nick Westbrook-Akina. He kept dropping passes left and right. And the fact that he stuck and then he was in games kind of told you, that what we saw did not match up with what they thought of him, and special teams is a big part of that. I mean, for Fitzpatrick, he hasn't been bad out there making mistakes or anything necessarily. He just hasn't made any kind of an impact. It seems like he's barely targeted in any of the 7-on-7 or team stuff. And it seems like he's not open too much. I don't know. I mean, there's just very little impact from him right now. So I don't know where it goes from here, but I think you have to put everything on the table given the competitiveness of that room, like Vrabel just said. Now, is this a thing where Vrabel and Robinson could have a clash on this? I don't know. Because if you're J-Rob, it's like,
dude, I just spent a 4th-round pick on him. Yeah.
Right.
You got to coach him up.
Are you going to this quickly? Man, I was wrong. Dylan Radunz, again, I think the trend is positive for him. It's not like 2nd-round pick feeling good about it yet, but it's positive for him. Could that happen for Des Fitzpatrick? There's still time. I would say I'd get going real fast here.
Well, and Kinston on Periscope points out, much to do about nothing with Fitzpatrick. 10 days ago, Radunz was struggling. Now he's getting praise. One day you're bad, the next week you're improving. So to that point, it's not over with Des Fitzpatrick, but it's time to get to work, especially in that room.
Right, because it has been a few weeks now. And, it's interesting with Fitzpatrick because I thought there's a lot of guys in the spring who I thought showed something, and then it's different in camp. Deshaun Kaiser is the absolute example of that. But Fitzpatrick, I thought showed some good things in the spring, and he just hasn't been there. And, you never know If a guy has a little nagging injury, not enough to keep him out, doesn't want to say anything about it, who knows? I mean, stuff like that happens all the time. I think Kenson's right, but it has been all camp. And so it's been, it's got to change pretty quickly here. And it's not, I don't think it's much to do about nothing because the room is so competitive. It is so hard to get on this team as a receiver, which is funny to say, but it's true right now. There's going to be, there will be a couple really good players cut who they'd love to probably bring back to the practice squad, but who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with Fitzpatrick. And also, I mean, I already saw it after those comments Friday night from Vrabel. There was a lot of talk about John Robinson and the draft picks. And we just got a text about J-Rob worried about the draft picks again on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Look, I get it. I mean, this is going to continue to be a conversation. Now, as we do every time we have this talk, you're not going to hit on every draft pick. It's not going to happen for John Robinson or for anybody else. But you got to get out of the business of your higher picks. And a fourth-round pick, it's not a high pick. It's a mid-round pick. So it's not the same thing as your
But
first
you moved up.
But you did move up. And there are some receivers taken after, and including a receiver that you made a trade with that the Green Bay Packers selected, and Amari Rodgers, who I think is going to be a very good player. So there are moves that you made to go get Des Fitzpatrick. He's got to be a guy that can make your team. Like, we penciled him in at the receiving group when we started to have this conversation, and you were like, Marcus Johnson, Chester Rogers, Racey McMath, one of these guys probably not going to make it because Des Fitzpatrick is going to be a part of this group. And I'm just not so sure that I totally buy that anymore. I still think it's likely that he makes it because he's a fourth-round pick. But I'm not just going to totally discount, to your point, that he may not make the team. It just depends on – it's going to be really interesting to see, number one, if there's improvement there because that makes your decision a lot easier. But if there's not, how quickly, if you're the Titans, are you willing to move on at that point or admit a mistake?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fitzpatrick is a coach's son, and I think his intangibles, his personality, I think those were big parts of why the Titans liked him so much.
Sure.
So now is when you want to see that manifest itself in his performance. I mean, this is like, we're all talking about him, just like wasn't that long ago. We were talking a lot about Dylan Raduns because he wasn't impressive, and now we're talking about Fitzpatrick. But he's got to respond, and I think you're right. I think if he does, and he shows some gains, then I think he'll be fine. But I don't know. It's a very tough room. And as far as the whole draft group, the funny thing is I think probably like the first-round pick might look the most promising, which I get. And no surprise when you say that, but I mean obviously that's probably the most debated pick because of the back injury, but if and when he gets out there, I think he's going to help this football team. Raduns, we'll see. Monty Rice so far, he was okay. He played a lot. He's another guy who played a lot. I think he's clearly like there's three linebackers and then there's backups. And Monty Rice is a guy that they're looking at next year. Can you get him ready? Probably don't want him on the field much this year. It would only happen if you had injuries. I still think Molden is going to make an impact. And he was back yesterday, so maybe you'll get to see him this week, and maybe you'll get to see him Saturday. And obviously Weaver has been impressive. So it's not a total zero, but yeah, when you move up to get a guy in a draft with so many good receivers, if he ends up way behind some of the guys who were picked after him, or just some of the guys you could have had, that's where it's a problem. You got to also put it in the context of the position.
When we come back, we'll take your thoughts on Des Fitzpatrick. How concerned are you that he was not a factor on Friday night? Are you worried about him not making the team? We'll take your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, discussing Dez Fitzpatrick. Not in the lineup, or not in the lineup much on Friday night for the Titans. Not much of a factor so far during Titans training camp. What is your concern level with the Titans' fourth-round pick? Hit up our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Got a texture that says, absolutely concerned about Dez not making the team, not only his lack of performance, but others saying last night there's a sense of urgency that's just not there. It's an example he gave was 3 drop passes he had in practice afterwards, getting coached up by Vrabel, I believe, and was kind of just smiling and laughing about it, where he should have taken it pretty seriously. Doesn't sound like a guy I want to keep around. And I think that is probably a case of reading way too much into practice at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like an attitude thing or anything like that. So, I mean, look, unless it's attitude that like you don't have the drive or whatever, or the ability to figure out, what you're not doing well enough and how to get it better. But as far as, again, Dez Fitzpatrick, we've had him a few times since he got drafted. It's not it's not an attitude problem or anything like that. He just hasn't been able to perform.
Here's my thing on if Dez Fitzpatrick doesn't work out. You're then having to spend another pick in another draft next year or the year after on a receiver because Fitzpatrick didn't work out if it doesn't get better for him. Like, if you cut him before the season, you would have gone through that entire draft without getting any receiver in a deep receiver class. And then you're having to use another pick in another draft on a receiver because Fitzpatrick didn't work out.
After having to use another pick on another right tackle in this draft who may not work out. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it adds up.
For sure.
It does add up. And just lost Corey Davis, top 100 NFL player, too, that you drafted.
That's true. You didn't re-sign the top 100 receiver or top 100 player, Corey Davis.
How dare them?
Is he underpaid by the Jets? Jets didn't pay him enough.
So.
How do you only pay that much to a top 100 player? I have no idea.
I'm sure the players will vote on Corey Davis to have the best contract in the NFL. He's the most underpaid receiver in the league.
He must be.
Must be.
You're texting away furiously. Who are you texting?
I'm texting Ryan Porth.
Ryan, shut up. Stop putting ketchup on brats.
Ryan Porth, be quiet.
Would you please stop talking?
Let's go back.
I don't have a text yet.
I know. I'm not done with it yet.
Apparently, he's got a little manifesto he's sending your way.
Devin text again from Dover. Not that concerned with Chester Rogers and Marcus Johnson stepping up. More worried about Josh Reynolds. This coming from Devin from Dover.
Well, it's interesting that we haven't talked about him yet. Look, Reynolds, his situation, different as far as we know from Fitzpatrick. Well, it's different in a few ways. I mean, Fitzpatrick is a rookie. Josh Reynolds has produced in this league. Josh Reynolds has been a productive player in this league. And Josh Reynolds is definitely coming off injury. So, again, like all the stuff with Paul Kaharski in his video, not looking explosive, and A.J. Brown, now he and A.J. are hugging, and everything's great. I mean, the video showed a guy who, to me, is working his way back from injury, and he wasn't explosive. He hasn't looked explosive. How many snaps did Josh Reynolds get? He got a couple snaps the other night, right? But not much. He was out there a little bit. So with him, it's kind of the same thing in terms of, let's see here, in the short term. I understand that Josh Reynolds, we've talked about this last week. It's not like he's a huge number. It was 1-year deal, 1.75, right? So it's not like it's some huge number where you couldn't cut Josh Reynolds if you don't feel like he's going to be able to step up. But I think it's way too early when you consider coming off injuries to just count him out. He's got to come up here in the near term and make plays.
But he's going to make the team.
I would think so. If he doesn't, if he can't get healthy, if he can't get explosive, if he can't make plays, it's 4 weeks till the opener. In that time period, at some point, do you start, as you get close to cut day, do you start thinking about it? I don't know. And again, the only reason you do is because there are other compelling options in that room.
Let's go back to the text line. John in Nashville texting in. I don't think if the wide receiver room is filled, it needs to be filled with drafts or free agents. It just needs to be filled with talent, and that we have. Titans gets a lot of criticism for an empty wide receiver room this spring, and Jared and Chris felt physical pain when Caleb Farley was picked, and now the defense looks to be back on track, and the wide receiver room is competitive.
Okay, well, let's pump the brakes on the defense. Looks to be back on track based on what they did against the Falcons' backups.
A.J. McCarron is slinging that thing around, man.
Yeah, I mean there was some good signs individually and collectively. I mean the defensive line was very active, but again, like who are you playing? You're playing a bad team's backups. So
can't you have any fun?
Well,
we've been waiting for a Titans defensive performance like that for over a year. They held him to 3 points. Arthur Smith, this offensive genius.
Well,
3 points.
Well, the only question is who has the best defense in the AFC South, because the Texans held your beloved Packers to 7.
They did.
Two, just nasty defenses about to step out on the field in 2021. Yeah, it's just there's some good things, but let's hold off. This week, maybe Tom Brady is just constantly just puzzled and bothered in practice and can't complete a pass.
Maybe so.
We'll find out.
I found out, betting the under in the NFL preseason, pretty good strategy.
I think most of them hit the under.
They did.
This weekend.
Jeremy on Twitter. Who cares about Fitzpatrick? Are we really that concerned about someone competing to be the 4th or 5th receiver with Brown, Jones, and Reynolds? Come on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, if Fitzpatrick makes it or not, does he matter on this team? Probably not unless you have injuries. So that's true. But I mean, it's still the part about it that's bothersome is what we were just talking about. You used a 4th-round pick and you moved up to use it on him. So that's the bigger picture of the entire team you're building, that you're constantly trying to improve. It makes it harder. Those draft picks are precious. You cannot win in this league unless you draft well. The 2019 draft class, look at it right now. It's fantastic.
Yep.
It's a huge part of why the Titans are where they are. But last year's draft class right now, it's not good. And this one, I mean, if you're moving up and then in a draft with so many good receivers and you get someone who can't even make your team, that's a problem. It's not just because your receivers this year, are good ahead of them that it means nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. Those picks can be used elsewhere. You have to hit in the draft.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texter that says, as long as we're overreacting to preseason game number 1, Mason Kinsey is our new number 1 wide receiver, so I'm not worried yet. That's true.
That is true. I mean, was Kinsey top 100? Did he make top 100? He's probably just outside.
Just on the outside.
He should have.
Yeah, just outside the top.
He'd be higher rated on the top 100 or 1,600 than Vic Beazley.
That is true.
I would give Mason Kinsey a higher NFL rating than Vic Beazley. I'm with you.
We finally agree on something.
There we go. That's our catch up on Brats moment.
That's right.
Brats.
Ron texting in. I saw a lot of opportunities to make a first down, but we decided to run the ball. Looks to me that Mike was really testing the kickers in this game.
In one instance, I thought so for sure.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And the kickers were good. I think Tucker McCann has a chance to be the guy, but the problem is now he gets hurt. How hurt is he? I don't know. Vrabel said he's sore, but I mean I've been on the Gostkowski train all along. I'm not off it yet. I will say that with McCann the other night with the lights on, you kind of saw, okay, this is why they've been hanging with him, and they think like maybe he could be like the long-term answer. I just don't know if he is or not. But he has found some consistency in the last week plus since Ficken arrived, honestly.
All it took was Ficken coming in there, and you laughed at Brady coming in and making everybody else better. All it took was Sam Ficken coming in, and all of a sudden Tucker McCann's best kicker on the earth.
Imagine if Ficken and Brady were on the same team.
That's what I'm saying.
How much improvement? Well, maybe the Titans
23-0.
Yeah, maybe the Titans can see if the Bucs would like him, and they'll trade him for Suckup.
Maybe so.
All problems would be solved.
That's right. When we come back, we'll switch gears, get into a little college football, and apparently We'll get into why the SEC is looking more and more like a version of Star Wars. I got that for you coming up next. Porth has no idea what I'm talking about, but that's okay.
0.
That's so sad. We'll get to that coming up more a little bit
Someday.
next. Right now, though, I'm
Nope.
going to tell you about my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, and we've all had that dream. It's a tie game, bottom of the ninth. The bases are loaded. And on FanDuel Sportsbook, you get more than one shot to swing for the fences because FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free. That's right, new users get up to $1,000 back in site credit if your first bet doesn't win. And it only gets better from there because FanDuel's got a new promo they do every Tuesday, $5 Dinger Tuesdays. You can place a $25 or more wager on any player to hit a home run on Tuesday and get a $5 bonus in site credit for every home run hit during the game, a max of $25. There's a reason FanDuel Sportsbook is America's #1 sportsbook. The app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, fun bet types like the same game parlay, and always-on promotions to let you get more action out of every game day. And when you win on FanDuel, they'll pay you your winnings in as little as 24 hours. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up with promo code ROB to get in on the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund and bonus issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max bonus of $25 per game. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. This Wednesday, it's your chance to participate in the Nashville SC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. If you guess correctly which player scores the goal in the game Wednesday, you win a prize pack and a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. Participate this Wednesday morning coming up at 9:45. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Going to have Corey Curtis from News 2 join us to begin the 8 o'clock hour. The Rex Rant coming up in about 12 minutes or so. So looking forward to that from Joe Rexrode coming up at 7:45. Right now, though, switching gears, talking a little college football. And, Joe, we knew the aftermath of Oklahoma and Texas coming to the SEC was going to be very interesting. It was going to upset the other conferences around college football and around college athletics. And it has done that. And it's interesting. Over the weekend, Max Olson of The Athletic coming out and saying that the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and ACC are engaging in high-level discussions about an alliance. This coming from Max Olson from The Athletic. So they're talking about talks have centered around not just scheduling an alliance in football, but in broader cooperation, according to sources in the three conferences. And Olson quotes a source in here saying that this is their response, their shot right back at the SEC. So it feels a little bit like the evil empire of the SEC and now the rebel alliance of the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the ACC. Interestingly enough, the Big 12 apparently left out of these discussions now.
Yeah, the Big 12 is just like the Ewoks. Like, hey, you guys are cute, but go over there and, play a little TCU. You guys can play your little game over there.
Go over there.
Yeah. Bye, Ewoks. Enjoy Endor. Porth gets none of this. He's like, huh?
Which is amazing in and of itself.
Dude, but you know what Ewoks are, right?
No, he doesn't.
No.
Oh, my God. Amazing.
Ewoks?
Yeah.
EWOK. Google it.
Ewok.
Use the Google machine.
Return of the Jedi. They were the cute little
he doesn't know what Return of the Jedi is.
Inhabitants of the...
I've heard of Return of the Jedi. I just haven't seen it.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame anybody for not being a big fan of Star Wars. It's fine. But not knowing what an Ewok is. What would Ewoks put on their brats? I bet you not ketchup.
I thought you said Ewoks. Like walking down the street.
Not quite.
Yeah, EWOK.
Ewoks will haunt.
Sure.
So anyway, back to the college football. Yes, Big 12 is the Ewoks.
Yes.
And I don't know who Luke Skywalker is in this Rebel Alliance. But
the SEC is Darth Vader.
There's no doubt.
James Earl Jones.
There's no doubt about that. Sankey.
Baseball. People will come, Ray.
So I mean, like, apparently this is so in future votes, okay, they can dictate things.
Right.
So expand, whatever may be coming up here. Playoff stuff, the expansion timeline, the format, stuff like this. These are things that are important. So if you got 41 votes and they're an alliance and they're like, we are together and we have 41 and the SEC only has 16. Well, fine. But it feels basically just like I'm taking my ball and going home. And nanny boo boo, we have power over you in some tiny little insignificant way.
Well, it's interesting because apparently the Big 12, after all this went down, was trying to have conversations with the Pac-12 about, I guess, how to move forward from here. And it looks like the Pac-12 said, I think we'll just talk with the Big 10 and the ACC. Thank you, Big 12.
Hey,
see you later, buddy.
Yeah, send me an email. Just shoot me an email. Here's my email address. It's real busy today. Got a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, I'd love to talk to you about this. Poor Big 12, man.
Well, the question, what does an alliance mean? Because Olson's sitting here talking about, and he's like, there's really no clarity as to what exactly this would mean moving forward. But what is an alliance?
That's it. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think scheduling. So, I mean, they could, have a scheduling thing, which is fine. But, yeah, what the SEC has done is obviously make it so that the money is going to be massive. I mean, they've made the power play here, and they are going to benefit tangibly from that. I mean, the only thing I can see is just the voting situation. Is there a situation where the SEC really wants something, but the other three are like, no, we're going to have it this way? I mean, to me, in a lot of cases still, their interests are actually going to align. So how much does this actually mean? I mean, I suppose, again, I thought the one hope when Texas and Oklahoma became public, before it became official, was, okay, well, we're not going to do the 12 then. Okay? If you do this, we're not doing the 12. So basically blackmail them to not do it. Well, that didn't happen. The SEC benefits the most from a 12-team format to me because they just are going to have just more powerful programs.
Yep.
And so they're just going to have more of their schools in a 12-team playoff. But do these other leagues actually not want that to happen? I mean, I don't buy that at all. Big Ten, same thing. Big Ten's like, yeah, we can get Ohio State and Penn State and maybe a third team in there.
It just seems like there's a lot of hurt feelings. I don't know that Greg Sankey's going to be the most popular guy at these luncheons that they have for the next couple of years.
Yeah,
and poor Bob Bowlesby. He keeps trying to get somebody to talk with him and hang out with him, answer his emails. Maybe think about adding a couple teams. Nothing for old Bob Bowlesby.
Yeah, Rob Zombie is struggling, man. Got to feel for him. And Sankey is. Yeah, it's a lot of. Everybody will be like, but again, like you may dislike Darth Vader or you may dislike the Emperor, but you will show respect.
That's right.
When he walks through the room, right?
That's right.
So, when he walks through the room.
Stop.
That's pretty good.
I mean, that was a good dad joke.
By the way, I just looked up what Ewoks look like. I think I'm going to see that in my nightmares.
You don't think they're cute?
No.
Oh, they're cute. We got to watch the movie.
Cute.
It makes little cute little sounds. They're little fuzzy little teddy bears.
Yeah.
But they also, I mean, they can fight a little bit.
Oh, they get after you.
They got the slingshots, big boulders coming your way. Watch out.
I'm going to completely see that in my nightmares without ever seeing Star Wars.
One of the things I've always tried to figure out is like in Return of the Jedi, they're shooting these slingshots of these little bitty rocks at these stormtroopers that have full armor and helmets on, and all of a sudden the stormtroopers are just gone.
Right. And I love, Star Wars and so many other movies too. It's like one hit, one punch, or like the rock hits you in the leg and you're passed out.
Disintegrated.
I don't know if you died or you're at least like you're just totally knocked out cold.
That's the Big 12.
Yeah, what Star Wars character is Bob Bowlesby right now?
Well, I mean, again, I think of the Ewoks.
Just totally destroyed.
Yeah, the leader of Alderaan, as his moon and his planet is vaporized. I don't know, man.
Spoiler alert.
Who's Jabba the Hutt, though? Charlie Weiss? It doesn't even make sense, but he just looks like Jabba the Hutt.
Johnny on Twitter, have we figured out who knows less? Is it Porth with his movie references or Darren McFarland with his classic country songs? # Smoky Mountain Rain. Yeah, Darren did not know Smoky Mountain Rain by Ronnie Millsap, so there's that.
Do you have that? I've heard you guys talking about it, and do you have that clip? I'd like to listen to it.
What clip?
The Smoky Mountain Rain. I'd like to know if I know it.
We can come back with Smoky Mountain Rain later in the show.
I don't have it on demand, like ready to go.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
We can get it later in the show.
Sure.
Too busy in there putting ketchup on brats, huh?
Brats.
Got a text that says, Ewoks eat people. They were going to eat Luke and Han and had several empty stormtrooper helmets. They are ferocious, the Ewoks.
That is true. They were going to eat those guys, weren't they?
These things are spooking me out.
They also think C-3PO is a god.
Yes, they did.
Who?
Yeah.
That's the little electronic dude, right?
Yeah, it's the little electronic dude.
None of those in Star Wars.
I don't even know
You're
where to
technically
start.
right.
Does Amanda? She
How have you
watched
not
Star Wars?
Like, have you never seen any of them?
No.
From someone your age, that's tough to imagine.
Nor do I intend to.
How do you know if you don't like it, though?
They're fun movies.
Yeah.
Apparently little 3-headed Martians and thongs just running around.
I missed that scene.
That's in the next generation of Star Wars. Yeah. Right. It's a little spoiler alert there.
It's all the advanced script. When we come back, we'll have the Rex Rant every Monday at 7:45. Joe Rexrode for his rant of the week. That's coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode. You're on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The time is now for the Rex Rant
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
on Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I'm still parked out by the lake, 80 miles from Santa Fe. And I'm sitting out here parked out by the lake.
Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
So is he by a lake? I'm not sure. I get all that.
He's parked by the lake.
And also, we're on the lake. Who is this?
I don't even know if I know who that is.
I think it's Donnie Cowboy.
Oh.
Donnie Cowboy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Credit to intern Will for picking out that song today.
Way to go, Will.
Nice. Is that right, intern Will? Donnie Cowboy?
It's Granger Smith, but that's his own one.
Granger Smith. Okay.
Granger Smith is a good artist.
Okay, country
Yeah.
fans, thumbs up or thumbs down, Granger Smith. Good, yeah?
Yeah,
He's all right.
Slight thumbs up.
Robbie's kind of, he's kind of
But
tough on the country artists. You know?
The
Generally speaking, with a couple of exceptions. After about 09, yeah.
Not much. Such
the,
an old soul.
Yes, I am.
The joke of the song is that the lyrics are parked out by the lake, 80 miles from Santa Fe.
Yeah.
He just repeats himself, and he has the.
We noticed.
Yeah. And he has.
Did
the
I
name,
mention the lake?
He has the name Donnie Cowboy for that song.
There you go. I like it.
Parked out by the lake.
With that in
Hey.
mind.
Put me in a better mood than had you played "Don't Worry, Be Happy" by Bobby McFerrin. So
I'll add that one to the list.
Well, I have that one queued up. With that in mind, it is time for today's edition of the Rex Rant, which you can hear every Monday morning at 7:45 here on Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, I turn things over to you for today's edition of the Rex Rant.
I mean, speaking of being repetitive, like I hate to just I stay on this stuff, but I'm gonna do it again. I'm going to the homestead again.
Oh boy.
I mean, I thought about different things this week. Some really disturbing things I saw with people crying about kids having to wear masks at school, and I have the annual like, oh my God, it's preseason football, people. It's a preseason game. It's backups playing against each other. Please stop. But I got to go home. We have 2 dogs, okay? I didn't want either of these dogs, okay?
Okay.
I said no.
All right.
I didn't think – and it's not because I don't love dogs. I had dogs growing up. Love dogs, but I had questions about us being able to take care of the dogs. Even with 5 people in the house, Katie and I are busy and traveling, and the kids have all these activities, and I just wasn't sure if we could handle it. But also, I don't like poop and pee. So
Who does?
Right. I mean, like it's a part of life, but I don't like stepping on it. So we got a dog, Gus, and we love Gus very much. Gus is the best. Love Gus. And this is a couple years now we've had Gus. And then the pandemic, and Gus needed a friend, and so we got Quinn. Begrudgingly, I actually love Quinn, even though she is a freak who barks at everything. And if there's an animal who shows up on TV, she just goes nuts. And I'm waiting for her to chill out. But we all love them, and they're part of the family. They're going to be part of the family. Okay. Last night, I walked into one of our rooms, and I stepped in a big pile of pee. And then I saw 2 dog turds right by my bed.
Okay.
And this is a frequent occurrence. Basically, they have destroyed the carpeting in our home and the stairs. Again, I don't blame them. I'm not mad at them. We love them. We have done a terrible, terrible job of training them. Now, Gus gets it, and if you go outside, Gus understands. So if you get Gus out walking enough, he does it the way he's supposed to be. Quinn has no idea. Quinn thinks that, like, she should poop on my chest. That's what is supposed to happen, okay?
Okay.
And she does everything but that. Totally confused. So this is not a rant. This is actually a beg for help. Someone help us. I'm out of answers. I've Googled everything. We have dogs who they aren't taken out enough, and some of that is just like you got to do it. It goes with the chore thing.
Sure.
You're going to do your chores. You're going to do what you're supposed to do or not. But also, like at this stage of a dog's, timeline. I mean, Gus is 3 years old. Again, he's okay. The other one, I don't know. I don't know how to, at this point, make it work. So if you guys have answers, really, this is me begging for help.
How old is Quinn?
Quinn is like a year and a half old.
Okay. There's still time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's still hope. Now, it's going to probably require some intentionality, and quite frankly, this time of year, some time that you just don't have. So you're going to need some help from the children in this aspect. But it's not too late. Year and a half, we've seen many dogs be saved from that.
Yeah?
Year and a half. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I actually feel better right now.
It's not unsalvageable. Now, it's going to require a lot of help from the children. And that goes back to your point. Are they willing to accept this responsibility? Are they not willing?
Here's the thing. All three of them, again, I was hesitant, to say the least. All three of them begged, wanted a dog. They love the dogs, there's no doubt. But again, how you can't then say, yeah, but I took them out last time. If I hear that again, I'm going to – no, I don't care. You don't love the dogs? Then take them out again. Take them out a third time in a row. You get the privilege of going for a walk with your dogs, but instead it's, I did it, and you know, blah, blah, blah hasn't done it in hours, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I don't want to hear that crap. Do your chores.
Don't want to see it either.
See, we just come back to, like, do your chores. But again, this should not be a chore, right? Like, if you love dogs and you want dogs in your home.
I mean, I prefer spending time with dogs.
Right.
Than most people.
I mean, I can see that. You can make a case for that.
Maybe Robby needs to go to the Rexrode household.
Maybe this could be a rescue mission for Robby Stanley.
You are welcome to stop by and teach them where to poop. That would be great.
Now, here's a suggestion from our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Take both of the dogs out at the same time, and maybe Quinn catches on, but taking them out regularly is key. Do they go out together at the same time?
They do. Like, I take them on walks together. And, again, Gus does what he's supposed to do, and usually Quinn is just doesn't get it right now. But I usually do. Now, sometimes Gus would walk all day long and play outside all day long. Quinn gets – like, she'll, like, get tired and sometimes just be like, just carry me now, you know. So it's different, but for the most part, they go out together.
Now, what kind of breed are these dogs? Are they big dogs, small dogs?
Oh, God. See, now I'm going to – okay, now – oh, I got texts from family members now who are mad at me. Okay, so Quinn is part poodle but part – God dang it. Well, Katie's listening, so – give me the dog breeds. I don't want to mess it up. They're small dogs.
Okay.
They are both small dogs. All right. Now I'm exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. Yeah, Multi-Poo is Gus.
Okay.
And then Quinn is a what's something that's combined with a poodle, like a
There's a golden doodle.
Do not look at me.
I was about to say he's not a dog person.
Not a dog person.
No, we are cat people.
Cat people, yeah. I don't really like cats, but I mean it's a lot easier.
Vincent and Dixon texting in. Next time the kids say they're hungry, you say, "I fed you last time." Figure it out if they take that approach with the dogs.
I like that.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, as much time as I spend crafting. Yeah, Quinn was a rescue from the Humane Society. And again, we love these dogs. Love them. I mean, honestly, this is just another. Oh, they're both Multi-Poo. Is that right?
There you go.
They're both Multi-Poos? Boy, they're so different. I'm learning so
Apparently
much.
They take Multi-Poos across the house too.
Multi-Poos taking Multi-Poos.
Bicycle boy texting in. Is it a fenced yard? Install a dog door and they'll both figure it out.
Yeah. No, it's not. We've thought about the electric fence thing. And yeah, the dog door, it's kind of like a deck. So I mean, there's a lot going on, man. I mean, I don't know. But again, love the dogs, love the kids, love everyone. It's all love.
There's all love at the Rexrode house.
But if you love something, then you need to take care of it. So kids, we wiped your butts when you had diapers on, and we fed you and we clothed you, and because we loved you. So if you love these dogs, then you need to do things that demonstrate that.
That's correct. But you just need to know that all hope is not lost.
You know, anytime you talk about your household or your pets or whatever, I just imagine like a zoo.
Yeah.
Like that, it's just chaos.
Yeah,
in the
which I
Rexrode
love.
household.
And then in a few years, the kids are going to be gone, and we're going to be so depressed.
Sure.
I mean, I love the chaos, and they all make fun of me, and that's fine too. Great. It's just we're trying to prepare people for adulthood, and so responsibility is a big thing, right? But
Caleb,
you're right. You are imagining it correctly.
Caleb texting in. You need to praise your dogs every time they use the bathroom outside.
I do.
The neighbors may think you have an obsession with dog poop, but eventually it will catch on with both of them.
I mean,
So maybe persistence is key.
I mean, when I have Gus out there and he squeezes one out, oh, I'm so excited. I get so excited.
Way to go, Gus!
Gussie!
All righty!
I love you, Gussie! Yes! Look at that poop. It's amazing. Oh, believe me. I mean, I couldn't be more excited about poop. And it's still it's not all working together.
When he squeezes one out.
Well,
they're
there
not
goes
big.
Fourth. All righty.
They're not big, but they're beautiful.
That's right. When we come back, we'll be joined by Corey Curtis from News 2. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans against the Falcons on Friday. Corey, a part of the broadcast there. Also, stay tuned next hour. We'll have your opportunity to join our fantasy football league as well. All that coming up next. You're listening
I'm getting
to
blown
Robby.
up on the text line.
I'm sure you are. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode. You're on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, hour number 3 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, talking Titans. And to help us do that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Corey Curtis, who joins us every Monday at 8 o'clock. Corey, what's going on, brother? How we doing?
I'm delightful this morning. How are you guys?
We are delightful as well. Appreciate you taking time to join us. Great job on Friday night, Corey. And what did you think of the Titans, a 23-3 win against Atlanta in the preseason? Who were a couple of guys that stood out to you from the Titans and their performance on Friday night?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different from everybody else. But I thought Rashad Weaver was excellent, and he's the guy who really stood out to me. I mean, just being on the sideline, his sheer size out there is noticeable. His power, his length, the way he was able to shove, linemen into the backfield to get to the passer and also set the edge. And I know they're not the starters, but they're the guy in front of him. And that's the only guy he can play. And if he wasn't doing it against those guys, then that would be a problem. But I thought he was good. I thought the whole front was really active. And I thought that was great for Shane Bowen and company. Like I said, obviously we didn't see a lot of starters in there, but you can only judge the guys who are out there. And so I thought it was, a really good step forward for him. Among other guys, you could pick out other guys on the defensive front. T.R. Tart, Wyatt Ray. They all played well. And it is great seeing Jayon Brown out there. I think we forget how he's kind of a difference maker for this defense because he gets to the football, whether it be making tackles or actually getting his hands on it. He is a playmaker, and if he can stay healthy, which has always kind of been the issue, keeping him on the field, he's a guy who makes a lot happen.
Yeah, totally agree. It's probably not talked about enough, Corey. To echo Robby, you did a great job. A fantastic sideline report.
Really
you did.
Thank you.
Well, and it's not easy. I mean, I've never done it, but I know people who have done it. It's not an easy job at all. You did it very well, and I just want to tap into that a little bit. One, from your vantage point on Darrington Evans, what's your sense on him, because we're just guessing on injured guys, but also just any other just takeaways, big picture from being on that sideline Friday night?
Well, it was interesting with Darrington because, they checked one knee and then they checked the other, and I don't know if they were going for a baseline, check the healthy one, see how it feels compared to the other one. He wasn't limping around horribly, but that doesn't mean anything. We've seen guys with ACL tears that walked around pretty much just fine. So it's impossible for me to say how hurt he is. He didn't go to the locker room. He stayed on the field with his helmet on. And to me, that's always a very good indication, okay, when a guy stays in. So we'll see how he goes forward. I think what we saw from him was pretty good. Obviously, he needs to stay healthy. But, I asked him last week about being able to third down back, and, because of his size and speed, and obviously compared to Derek. And he said he didn't care. He can label me whatever I want. I want to play football. Well, he didn't look like a third down back. I thought he ran with strength and decisiveness and power. And so I thought those were positives. He's just got to be able to stay on the field. I think one of the things that stands out to me overall, being down there, we talk about Mike Vrabel's, command of this football team, and it's there. I mean, it's his team. It happened during commercial break, so we weren't really able to get it. But after the fumbled snap in the second half, and they had given up a long drive for a touchdown, they weren't looking as sharp as they did in the first half. And he called the entire team over to the bench and circled them around and let them have it. I mean, in a first preseason game, and it was just about playing up to their standard. Not playing down to what the competition is on that night, but playing who they are and staying in that moment every moment and playing to that standard every moment and not letting yourself stand for less. And, we talk a lot about culture and the type of environment that you create. And that's that's part of what he creates for this football team, is an expectation, that you play great all the time. And when you look at those New England teams, yeah, they struggle with Miami once in a while, but they never really, in their really good days, even when they play really bad teams, they never laid a lot of eggs. They pretty much played the same game every week, no matter who they were playing. And that's where he's going with this. And that's, because we've seen the Titans be good, and then they go losing to the Jaguars. And we're like, what the hell is happening here? You just gave one away against a terrible team. Because you can't do that. I mean, it can cost you a home playoff game. And so when you see that in a first preseason game, when you're up 16-3 or whatever it was, it just reinforces the type of culture and environment and atmosphere he's creating.
Corey Curtis from News 2 on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Corey, obviously Des Fitzpatrick, not a factor on Friday, and that's been a popular talking point all weekend long. How concerned are you that the fourth-round pick has not been a factor throughout training camp so far, and it has nothing to do with injury?
Well, I mean, it is concerning because, I think they traded up to get him as well.
Yep.
But he's a guy that a lot of people liked, So, it's not like they were crazy, for making that pick. It's not like they, made a giant leap, and you're like, man, what were they thinking? But it is concerning, not from the aspect that he can never contribute to this team, but his chances of contributing this year are fading quickly. Because eventually they have to just turn the page and focus on the season. And, they can't wait forever for guys to catch up because there was rookie OTAs. There was mini camp. There is training camp. And, you see other guys seizing their opportunity. And for whatever reason, for him, it's not happening. We had Teron Davenport on Sports Extra last night, and one of the things he suggested is, you got to learn X, Y, Z, slot, Alpha, Tango, Charlie, all these different spots. Maybe it's time to just put him at one and just say, learn this one, be good at this one, and then grow from there. Because it might be too much for him at this point. His head just might be swimming too much. Everybody's different. And we've seen for a very long time that position is very difficult on young players. The A.J. Browns and Odell Beckham Jr.'s of the world, and the kid up in Minnesota,
Jefferson.
Jefferson. That's why those performances are special, because they don't happen a ton. It's tough, and he is struggling. I can't imagine them cutting a fourth-round pick. I just can't. So it'll be interesting to see how they navigate these waters, because that's obviously one of the deeper rooms on the team.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick with that, Corey, because first of all, Mason Kinsey was very good Friday. He's been good in camp, but I think he's kind of a classic example of just be careful, everybody, and understand where someone is in the pecking order, and that goes with the reps. Yeah, the reps that he gets every day. I think Mason Kinsey would be a great addition to the practice squad for this team. It would give the defense a nice look this year. That's probably best case. But do you think that if Des Fitzpatrick were cut and exposed, that someone would pick him up for their active roster?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. There'll be somebody. Look, Joe, you've been here a while. You've seen some Titan rosters that are thin at wide receiver, right?
Yes, no doubt.
Yeah, and you could bring in one of those guys and say, he may not be able to help us this year, but he's got talent, and next year he's going to be able to help us. This isn't Isaiah Wilson, all right? This is just a kid who's struggling. It's a kid who is very talented coming out of college, who is struggling to adapt to the next level. And so I would maybe I'm wrong, but I would have to think, somebody could pick him up, and they may end up cutting him again, but you would lose him. All right. I'm pretty confident of that somebody would take a flyer. Who'd probably take a flyer on him? New England, because they love distressed assets, and he would be a distressed asset at that point.
Corey, what did you think of the quarterback play? Logan Woodside, Matt Barkley, only 23 passes thrown in the game of the Titans, so not a ton of action out there, but what did you think of the way the quarterbacks played?
Well, look, when you're missing your top 6-7 offensive linemen, you're not going to throw a ton of passes, all right? And also, Dean Pease apparently wanted to show Mike Vrabel he still knew how to blitz.
Apparently so.
Because they came after him. But you know what? I thought Logan stood up to it. You know, he took some shots. I thought he delivered the ball pretty well. There was a nice back shoulder touchdown to Cam Batson. I loved when they went for it on that fourth down and completed that, and he threw a really nice ball there. I thought Logan Woodside did nothing but help himself in that football game. And I didn't think Matt Barkley was awful. I think he clearly was a step up from what we were seeing from Deshaun Kaiser. But I thought, Logan Woodside probably cemented himself as the two a little bit more. Does that mean I think, I feel great about Logan Woodside coming in and winning 2 out of 4 games if Ryan Tannehill goes down? No, but I haven't seen Logan Woodside in a real game. But look, there was no preseason last year, so for guys like Logan Woodside, this preseason is huge because he just hasn't played a lot of football. And so for him to get out there and get 2 quarters is really important. And, if they settle in, this week and say, you know what, he's our number 2, I still think he needs to play a lot in these last 2 games just so he gets more reps, more looks, more live action.
No, I agree. And we were talking about that earlier, Corey. Like, there's even guys who are key players, like, Byard and Jenkins do a series, thanks. Jayon, have a seat. A lot of guys didn't play at all. But then you got, Hooker gets more. Fulton gets more. You get some guys who you are going to rely on, but you feel like you need to, have them out there more. And I agree on Woodside. Get him as much confidence, experience as you can. I also thought Dylan Radunz, I thought this was a big night for him, especially after how he struggled early. Kind of looked like he's been picking it up, figuring out a little bit going into the game. And then I thought I watched him exclusively and went back and watched him exclusively, and I thought he was actually pretty good, understanding that he's going against people like Tazar Skipper. But what did you think of him?
No, I agree with you. And I think he is getting his feet underneath him, and he is adapting and playing better. I mean, even the sack that his guy got, I don't put that on him. Quarterback left the pocket, and so his guy disengaged and chased.
Yep.
So I have a hard time putting that one on him. And he played 2 positions in the game. Started at right guard and then moved out to right tackle. Does that mean he's ready to start? No, but it separates him from Des Fitzpatrick in that he's stepping up to the challenge. He's adapting. He's learning. He's getting better. And also the team has tried to put him in other places. And I think they're finding that he's might be a little bit more comfortable at right guard at this point, because it's a completely different position. You're not out on that island on the edge. You've got bookends around you. Now you got to be strong and you got to be stout in there if you're going to play that position, because you got some big old dudes that line up in front of you. But maybe that was a key to him kind of getting his footing and feeling better about what he's doing, because he is moving forward and he is making you feel better about him having a chance this year to help your football team.
Corey Curtis from News 2 has been our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Joins us every Monday at 8 o'clock. Outstanding job on the Titans coverage as well. Corey, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one and have a good week. Anybody going down to Tampa?
I am for the game. Not going for the practices, but I will be going down for the game.
I'll see you there. I'm going on Friday.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. What time's your flight?
I don't know. Cal booked it, so probably 3 a.m.
We should do a rant on Cal's travel booking.
The earlier the better, baby.
Do a Corey rant.
That's right.
Cal, let's just say Cal likes to be early. He's like that Progressive commercial where that lady goes, "Somebody should have left earlier."
That's right. That's Cal. Corey, appreciate you, man.
All right.
See ya.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're going to see Brady in person.
Cal
coming up
Baxter,
on Sunday.
good bucket hats.
How we made it through the entire show so far? I didn't know you were going down to see Brady in person.
No, you didn't. Yeah. I'm going to soak in it'll be like a fountain of youth. Just being in the same stadium as him probably had like 3 years of my life, which I've lost from dog poop.
That's right. When we come back, we'll react to what Corey had to say there. Also, have your next opportunity to join the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. That coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Plain Joe texting in. Rexrode will come back from Tampa Bay 5 years younger and the greatest radio host ever just from being in the same building as Tom Brady.
Yeah, I'll be able to, do crosswords really well. I'll be able to, go to CrossFit, just dominate.
You'll finally be able to train Quinn.
Yeah, Gus and
That's
Quinn
right.
will be well taken care of.
If I can get within 6 feet of Brady and then touch the dogs, they'll probably just start using the toilet and flushing, right?
Probably so.
But speaking of them, real fast, on my personal text line, Dane from Nolensville says, Quinn barked at me for 2 hours once.
Just 2 consecutive hours of barking.
Vingan says, like a newborn puppy, you have to walk a puppy every couple of hours. They have to go more often. I know, Vingan. He also says Pretzel had accidents until he was 2 or thereabouts. So
just put Adam on the Animal Planet. He's an expert. Just whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Does Animal Planet still exist? Is that still a
Sure, it
television
does.
station? I don't know.
It has to,
think
right?
so?
I don't know. I have no clue.
That's where Shark Week lives, right?
I think that's on Discovery.
That's Discovery.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I don't know if the Animal Planet's still a thing.
That's a good question.
Well,
have to find out.
I don't know either. I would assume so, but maybe not.
If there were only a device that would tell us such a thing.
Let's see if I can figure that out. Right now, the only thing to figure out, though, is who's going to fill the next spot in our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
And we have a roster change already.
We do have a roster change. I think Ron is going to be in. Got a nice email from John yesterday. Could not join the league like he thought when he won the competition, so offered his spot to Ron, who has already been talking trash. So.
John sent us a very nice email about listening to the show, and we appreciate it. And I kind of came away from that thinking like he just doesn't think he can hang in this league because this league is going to be
intense,
a ridiculously
it's going to be intense
competitive league.
That's right.
So hey, you know what, John, appreciate the kind words, giving your spot to Ron, and also recognizing the
quality of this league,
recognizing that this is the Hurt Locker. If you want to come into this sucker, so
right.
be aware of this, folks, as you try to get in this league and answer this trivia question.
That's right. So we have 5 more spots available. We will have a trivia question every day this week to fill up our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. Hit up our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Remember, the text line. You must text it in if you know the answer to this question. And today's trivia question is this. What is Robby Stanley, which is mine, NFL team and NBA team? We talked about the NFL team. Don't mention the NBA team a lot. You got to be a loyal listener to know my NBA team. If you know the answer, hit up the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025 for a spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
Must get both correct.
You must get both correct. Can't have one. Definitely can't have 0. Have to get both of them correct. So hit it up. It's been a race to the finish.
I can tell based right now just on the in previous ones, it's been a whole bunch of right answers.
I would just got one.
There you go.
I was going to say, think this one was too easy.
You think it was too easy?
Yeah.
I just feel like we don't talk about the NBA. Yeah, fair every once in a while, but we
got a lot of correct answers coming in. Maybe it was too easy.
All right, we'll get more difficult. I mean, look, I'll dig up some Greater Manassas Football League quarterbacking stats, see if you can get those right.
Now we've started to get some wrong answers come in. It's all good. All righty. There's a lot of people wanting to be in this league. The trivia questions for the rest of the week will be much more difficult. We're going to have to figure out a way to narrow this down.
That's fine. We can make it more. Yeah, we can ramp it up.
Did have somebody guess the Bulls and the Cowboys.
Okay.
That's not it.
So basically, this is someone who thinks you're just your basic bandwagoner, I guess, huh?
The Bulls,
and Cowboys. Canadians.
That's not it.
Yankees.
God, if I ever start rooting for the Montreal Canadiens,
yeah,
slap me. What'd you think of what Corey had to say there, throwing out the idea that Deron Davenport had last night on Sports Extra? Maybe it's time, if you're the Titans, if you're Mike Vrabel, to simplify things a little bit for Des Fitzpatrick. Maybe have him learn one spot at the wide receiver. I know when you've got guys like that who are not going to be in your top 3, you want them to learn everything, because if somebody goes down, you want them to be able to step in regardless of what position it is. Should it be something where if you're the Titans, maybe you change that up a little bit and just say, hey, learn this one spot. And after you learn that one spot, try to work on learning another spot then. Do you think that maybe it's too much for Des Fitzpatrick right now, as Corey Curtis pointed out?
Yeah, but I also I get that thinking for sure. I also can't sit here and say that they've been just completely moving him all over the place and cross-training him and, making his head swim even more. But, yeah, I mean, I understand that idea. But at the same time, look, I mean, this is your profession, and, I think it's some of it is just like, you got to go out and just make plays, and you got to go out and go full bore and block well, and just there's some things that are just, I mean, it's like what Vrabel said about Radens, and then he said about Weaver afterward Friday, like, go out there and, just play football. Or Monty Rice, he said this going into the game too. Like, go out and play football and run around, play full speed, make plays, and then there's going to be mistakes, and we will do film, and you'll see your mistakes, and you learn from them. But if you think about making the mistake or not making the mistake up front, then you're not going to play. You're not going to play full speed. You're not going to maximize what you are as a player. So I'm sure there's some of that involved here, but, I mean, look, Racey McMath is also a guy who is a rookie coming in, didn't get a ton of reps in college, offensively, didn't for a lot of his career, and he's come in and has made plays, has done some good things. Again, he's faded some too, but he's been out there looking like a player, and we just haven't seen a lot from Fitzpatrick. Still some time.
Some breaking news on the Nashville Predators front. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet reporting that the Predators and UC Saros have agreed to a 4-year, $20 million contract extension. 4 years, $20 million. So that is $5 million per year, if my Hendersonville High School math holds up.
Impressive.
So 4 years, $20 million for UC Saros, which means the Predators and Saros avoid arbitration, and the Predators have their goaltender locked up for the next few years.
I like the deal. I like 4. I think that's a good number. I think that would work out well. In a couple years, you get the young guy, if he stays on the same track, in there, and then you have, at some point, probably those two as your goaltenders, and then you see where you go from there. Saros could be so good and sustain what he did last year that it'll look like a bargain by the end of the deal.
Yeah.
And it could be that it'll time out, I think, pretty well to a transition if that's not the case.
We'll continue to get your thoughts on our text line on the Titans, on UC Saros signing a contract, everything on the table on our text line and phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. By the way, congratulations to Dennis, who was today's winner in the fantasy football trivia question, correctly guessing the Green Bay Packers and the Miami Heat as my NFL and NBA
You're in the
teams.
club, Dennis. You're in the league.
Did have one person guess Colgate, which is great.
I'm sorry, what?
Guess what?
Colgate as my team. Or my toothpaste, one of the two. I don't know what they're guessing.
What was that, an NFL or an NBA
I don't
team?
know.
Don't know. They just went college? There is Colgate College.
I know.
They didn't guess Crest?
No, just Colgate.
Okay.
Congratulations, Dennis. We'll come back. Got more of your thoughts on our text line coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Tune into Nashville Sounds Baseball tomorrow night on ESPN 94.9 as the Sounds begin a 6-game road trip against Memphis, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Nashville Sounds Baseball presented by 312 Pizza Company and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Reacting to the breaking news, Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet reporting that the Nashville Predators and UC Saros have agreed to a 4-year, $20 million contract extension, which, of course, allows the Predators and Saros to avoid the arbitration hearing that was said, and the Predators have their goaltender locked up for the next 4 years. And I got to be honest, Joe, I think this contract is pretty close to perfect. 4 years, I think, is a good term, $5 million per year. So basically what you've done is you kind of flip-flopped your goaltending pay. I mean, Pecorino made $5 million last year. Now Saros is making $5 million per year. You get David Riddick to come in on the cheap as well, so still not spending all that much at the goaltending position. I think this is a very friendly deal for the Nashville Predators when it comes to UC Saros.
Yeah, because we talked about some similar performance players and deals that are definitely more than that, more like $6 million range, something like that. And I think the term could have been longer, and I think it's good for the Preds, but I honestly, I've felt this way for Saros too. If he is what we saw the second half of last year, and he can sustain that, then, if you signed a super long deal here, on the back end, you're going to be, underpaid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're him now, you've got your payday, you got some security, you got this job, but also if you are elite at the end of this. Now, you've got still time in your career. You're still young enough to sign a bigger deal.
Yep.
Potentially at that point. So I really like this from both sides.
Yeah, I mean, Saros is 26 years old. So he just turned 26 in April. So he'll be 30 by the time this contract is over. You could still make a pretty good amount of money as a 30-year-old goaltender. Now,
yeah, maybe not. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong when I say a bigger deal. But then again, if he's this good, it's possible.
I think especially the annual average value could absolutely be bigger. Now, it's probably not going to be
3-year
for
deal.
4 or 5 years would be my guess. But yeah, if he plays well, he'll have another payday coming his way. There's no doubt about that. And I've seen Predators fans already, and some of the responses to Elliot's tweet. Well, okay, what about Askarov? What does this mean for him? Askarov is at least 2 years away, and when he plays, he's going to be playing on the cheap the first couple of years. So it's not like you're going to have to spend a ton of money on both goaltenders at that point.
And you want him to have time. You want Saros to work out and be your next top goaltender, and you want Askarov to have some time as his apprentice, just like Saros had time under Rene. I mean, that's the perfect way for it to work out. And then, you make a decision. Again, the decision could be that you are, you've got to have Saros again, and you re-sign him. But, even if that's the case, I mean, Askarov can be an apprentice for a while. He also could be a trade asset. Either way, 2 years, you just forget about it, Right now it's going to be Saros and whoever the backup might be, and you got to let that kid develop.
Let's go to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chris texting in, can we just come to terms on how to say the last name of Saros? Pete Weber says it one way, and everyone else says it a different way.
Hey, listen, I hear you, and you know what? I love Pete. Couldn't respect anyone anymore, but I think Pete's wrong.
You might be. Look, I went last year off of the official pronunciation guide that the Predators sent out, and in that, it said Saros. That's what I went with.
Well, I mean, I've asked him. Other people have asked him.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing, though, asking some of these guys, like Marty Erat here, apparently his name was Marty Erat, and he tried to switch that half the way through, and finally he was just like, yeah, I don't care. Call me Erat, whatever.
Yeah.
So some guys, I think, legitimately, they just don't care.
But isn't there one other person who says Saros?
I don't know.
I thought there was somebody else.
Well, there's Bradford who says things like how they're in their native tongue, how they're supposed to be pronounced.
No. Wait. Bradford, how'd you do that?
What name did you just try to pronounce?
Saros.
Yeah.
The way Bradford says it.
And how did you say it?
I mean, he says he's like, and like the roll of the tongue, like I can't do the R.
Granlund.
Yeah, Granlund.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's amazing.
It's good stuff.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the effort. But actually, we should ask Justin on Saros versus Saros. He may be a Saros. In fact, maybe he is the other Saros.
Maybe so.
That may be the case. Saros. See, I can't roll the R.
Well done.
Good try there, Joe.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Frank texts again. Perfect contract for UC, right length and the right amount of money. Saros would have gotten a better term in terms of arbitration, so good to get a deal done now. May have made more money. I don't know. The arbitration's always kind of interesting to me to figure out exactly where he's going to land because there's a certain criteria that you've got to have as a comparable. Like a lot of people threw out Grubauer and the contract he just got with Seattle. I don't think he's a comp because he was a free agent. So there's a different way to go about it.
Always got to keep that in mind. That's always going to up the number.
Exactly. So, but good for the Predators to avoid this. We talked about this last week with Adam Vingan. I mean, very rarely do you get through an arbitration hearing, and it's a good thing. I mean, typically, it can cause some hurt feelings. Now, you generally speaking, you move past it, you're able to get over it, and then be pros and go do your job. But arbitration hearings are not a very pleasant experience for the players involved. It's basically just sitting there listening to your teams throw out every reason why they shouldn't have to pay you.
All the reason they actually don't like you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but what about this and this and this? And then on this day, and he showed up late at the arena and, wears tattered jeans after the game instead of a nice suit. Yeah. No, it's good to avoid that stuff.
It is. So good news for the Predators locking down their goaltender. Look, this was, in my opinion, the number one thing you had to figure out this offseason. We talked about Johansson and Duchesne so much. I never believed it was overly realistic that one of those two was going to get moved and that they were going to get moved to Seattle. So you bring in Saros. He played so well coming down the stretch. Now you feel great about your goaltending as you move forward here. And look, David Riddick coming in, it's a nice piece. He's been an NHL starter before. But when they made the David Riddick move, it told me Saros is going to play a lot. And we knew he was going to be the starter, but Saros is probably going to play, if he can stay healthy, 60 games, 62 games, somewhere in that neighborhood next year. I'd be surprised if that's not the case. So now you've got your goaltender still at a young age, still in the prime of his career, locked down for the next 4 years. Does that make you feel any different about your rebuild now that you know that the most important position you have locked down for at least the next 4 years?
Well, he's one of those guys who certainly is signing up in hopes that this isn't long. Like if Forsberg agrees to an extension, say this month or so, Ekholm agrees to an extension, that to me says that those guys think that this can be somewhat brief and not this long, torturous rebuild that some franchises have plunged into in recent years in this league. So, I mean, the idea is that you've got this guy and you have a good team around him soon. Will they? I don't know.
Well, and now the expectations for him are also going to go up, right? I mean, he's the starting goaltender, and he's getting paid a lot of money now, and he's got to get off to a good start. That's been the one thing about UC Saros that's not gone overly well is he's been a very slow starter. Now, as we've pointed out, he's only been the starting goaltender one time during that stretch, and he was the starter to begin last year, did not start all that well, and then was on fire in the second half of the season. Can you get close to the level? Because, again, the level we saw last year down the stretch from UC Saros is not realistic. Like, you can't sustain that throughout the course of a season. Can he get closer to that early on? That's what I'm looking for now, starting in October.
What's he going to be next year? 920 guy? 915 guy? What makes you feel good about this deal? Just that stat. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just that stat.
I mean, if he's around 920, I think you're still feeling pretty good. I mean, look, this has an opportunity very quickly from just a pure dollar amount value This has got an opportunity to be a steal pretty quickly. I mean, there are some goaltenders getting paid a lot of money in this league that are not as good as UC Saros right now. So this has got an opportunity to be a really good deal for the Predators. He doesn't have to be at .945 coming down the stretch like he was last year. If you told me right now, next year, that Saros is going to end up with a .923 save percentage, I'd say sign me up. That's perfect.
Heck yeah.
I think it would be great. So I think this has an opportunity to be a very good deal for the Predators very early on. So good job by David Poile and the Nashville Predators. This looks like a pretty good deal, pretty team-friendly deal for the Preds as well. Speaking of the Preds, starting development camp today as well. So we'll get to more of that coming up a little bit later.
Gunnar Wolf Fontaine.
He's in the city, baby.
Or,
come on.
To quote Justin Bradford, Gunnar Wolf Fontaine.
Very well done. Joe Rexrode's in one today here on the show. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. When we come back, we'll get back into the Titans, their performance against the Falcons on Friday night. What were our major takeaways from Game 1 of the preseason? All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, live from the Wholesale League Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Frank texting in on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe is on a roll this morning. You are. You're bringing the energy, the passion this morning.
You can call him Butter because he's on a roll.
All righty.
Well,
our time with Ryan Porth on the show today's been great.
You're ejected for that, Porth. Well, maybe it's just poop brings out the passion, you know?
Maybe so. To clarify for the dog.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, dog poop. We were talking about dog poop earlier in case you weren't listening. By the way, Joe on Twitter says he'd like to join the league, but he listens on podcast. Joe, friend of the show, Joe in Nashville. Well, Joe, we tweet out when it's time. We give you some warning. Yeah. So you got to react. You got to react in real time, you know?
That's right. Maybe the notification bell. Maybe you could follow us for the notification bell for the next few days. Get notified.
Speaking of a bell, a few people have told me about the bell on the door. We have friends who have done that, and it has worked. The bell on the door for the dog.
For the dogs? Yeah.
But then the rubbing the nose in the poop.
I don't know if that works.
We really don't do that, and have been told by a lot of people that it doesn't work. So some people say it does. I'm sure, various. I mean, look, hiccups. Want to get rid of hiccups? Take a big spoonful of mustard.
Yeah.
I say it works. Doesn't work for everybody. Works for some people. Porth, it probably would work for you.
Oh, yeah. It would work for you.
If you hate mustard, it's more likely to
definitely work. Yeah.
So remember that next time. You got hiccups, you can't get rid of them. Just a big old spoon. Do you guys even have mustard in your home?
No.
God, isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. Mustard's like it's like a natural healant. It heals things.
Yeah, mustard is a very wonderful substance.
Mustard sucks. I don't like mustard.
Tim on YouTube, Joe Rexrode trying to say names when he can't even say sciatica. Haha.
That's a fair point.
You think you'll ever live that down?
Probably
the sciatica and sciatica? I hope not.
I mean, we have T-shirts, so I'm guessing no. That's okay. I deserve it. You got to own that stuff, you know?
It was pretty great.
Sciatica.
There you go.
That's right. Joe, the Titans a big win on Friday night, 23-3 against the Falcons. And as we know, preseason football games, very important to both win the game and to predict the winners correctly, as we find out on Friday on Twitter as well. What did you take away from the game on Friday for the Titans? Who were a couple of guys that really stood out in Atlanta for the Titans in their big win on Friday night?
Well, we talked about Rashad Weaver is the first name you think of, and I think of Dylan Radunz early too. I mean, I think rookies just have to be viewed a little bit differently. You can't expect most rookies really to just be full go. I mean, there's always in every camp rookies that are standing out and are like demonstrate, this guy's going to be ready to, like A.J. Brown as a rookie, it didn't take long to see, boy, that looks like a pretty good pick. But I think with those guys, I think they're like most rookies, which is you got to expect some time to figure things out. And Radunz had certainly some trial by fire in practice. And we'll see. This week, we'll see how he does against good pass rushers in Tampa Bay. They may not play a ton Saturday night against those guys, but they will see them in practice. So he got some great players to go against on practice. But Radunz certainly stands out to me as a guy who looked like an offensive lineman figuring out with good feet. I thought he did a really good job at times of recognizing blitzes, and actually even when he's on days when he's been on an island and just been torched, he's always, I think, been pretty solid in terms of recognizing a stunt or a twist and handing off and kind of just having good recognition. But I thought he looked like a football player who could maybe help this team, and I would not have guessed that a week ago, that he was trending toward that. We've been talking about him. Maybe a week from now we'll be talking about Des Fitzpatrick figuring it out. But, he's the new rookie kind of on the hot seat. But other guys beyond that, obviously Chester Rogers, the kickers and quarterbacks. I thought that Mekhi Sargent is a guy worth talking about. Now, I look at him and you look at Mason Kinsey and you can say, wait a minute. We're talking about preseason, and it's just the snaps in the second half, and he's a camp guy. I don't know that Sargent is just that. I actually think Sargent has a chance. I have not been all that impressed with Brian Hill. Now, Jeremy McNichols has a lot of trust. He was the third down back last year. They know with him they have a certain amount of reliability if Darrington Evans is not healthy. But I wonder if Sargent might have a chance to pass those guys and be the guy behind Evans. Right now, I would not predict that, but I do think that he's making a case. And again, this is not just Friday. This is day after day in camp. He gets a ton of carries. Sometimes it's just we need somebody to take these carries, to do these reps. But I think he's really acquitted himself nicely, and I thought in pass protection Friday, he had a couple good reps against the blitz where he recognized it. There was another time they got overwhelmed, but, I mean, he had 2 guys to block, so I don't – what do you expect the guy to do? I mean, they just brought more bodies than the Titans could deal with. Up the middle, was a problem. Daniel Munyer was a problem. I think another takeaway from this game is, like, obviously they don't have Ben Jones, but they need, like, Aaron Brewer. They need some other guys to take some reps at center. Cole Banwart did, undrafted rookie, also an Iowa guy, and he had a bad snap. So they've had a lot of issues there.
They have, and one of the interesting battles has been at tight end as well. And a guy we've not talked about yet, Miller Forrestall out of Alabama. 3 catches, 20 yards, including the touchdown grab that he had as well from Matt Barkley on Friday. What'd you think of Forrestall? Did he put himself in a position where maybe realistically he can make this team with the Titans?
So I think Forrestall falls into the Kinsey category for me. There's going to be guys who make plays in preseason games, and you just have to understand where they are in the pecking order. I do think that Miller Forrestall is someone who they wouldn't mind on the practice squad if it worked out that way. But, I don't. I mean, good for him. Made plays in the game. That's all you can do. You go out there, you take an opportunity, and you do something with it. But I think one thing you saw was another guy who played a ton because they want to see him playing because they think that he could help this team, and that's Tommy Hudson. Tommy Hudson, 89, was out there a lot. And that, to me, is the 4th guy. And then with the top 3, of course, of Ferkser, Stocker, Swaim. And look, maybe there isn't 4. Maybe Hudson beats out one of those veterans, but that would be the clear top 4 to me. So Forrestall, good job, good for him, but no.
And then another negative for the Titans on Friday, Darrington Evans, who was running the ball pretty well. I mean, he had 4 carries, 26 yards, had a 15-yard run in there as well. Looked like he was doing some good things. And as you've pointed out, I thought he was going to be a pretty busy man in the first half of that game for the Titans. Leaves the game with an injury, and we know his injury struggles last year. Had a tough time staying healthy with the hamstring. Was a knee injury this time around. But he's got to get to a point where he can just be reliable and be on the field, because when he is, I think we can see the flashes of a pretty good player when he's healthy. He's just not been healthy enough so far.
Yeah, that game would have been a lot different. I really think that Evans was going to get a lot of work because like Woodside and Hooker and some of these Fulton, young players who, even though you're going to rely on them, so there's some risk, like it's worth having them out there. It's worth having them work some things out and just gain some confidence. And I think Evans would have played a lot. I think he probably would have had some big plays in that game because he's explosive. And so now another setback. And then how long does that setback take for him to get back on the field? It's tough. It's tough for him. Look, some players are simply injury prone at this level. I mean, let's face it. Most humans would fall apart immediately playing a week of this stuff. So you just hope, if you're the Titans, that that's not the case. If that was the situation with Corey Davis early in his career, and he got, he figured out, he got healthier and he was able to stay on the field more. But this year, I just feel like Evans could be a really important player for this team, an underrated player, and now this is open up, and so then who do you look at if he's gone for an extended period of time? I mean, McNichols is probably the safe guy.
Yeah.
Hill, to me, he's been okay, but I don't think he's like made a compelling case.
Well, as Dennis points out on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, the thing that scared me about Evans was that it was a non-contact injury, and Evans not out there again yesterday at practice either. So
yeah,
something to keep an eye on as we move throughout the rest of this week here too.
I mean, those things can also be like a mild sprain.
Sure.
So, I mean,
and if there's any reason to be hesitant too this time of year, like there's no point in putting him back out there if there's any reason for hesitancy.
No, there's no. But there is. I think, a real desire to have him out there and get him ready to give this offense another dimension. So now how much of a setback does it, we'll see. I mean, I'd be surprised if he does much this week. But then you hope like next week he'd be able to be back or thereabouts to give him a chance to matter in the opener and beyond.
When we come back, there was a pretty notable omission from the Titans on Friday that did not have much of an impact, has not had much of an impact so far in training camp. What's the concern level surrounding Dez Fitzpatrick? We'll get into that coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode live from the Wholesaling Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Final hour of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. And Joe, it's been an interesting battle in the wide receiver room for the Titans all training camp long. Marcus Johnson, not a ton of playing time on Friday, which probably shows you where he is right now in the pecking order. The Titans been pretty impressed with Marcus Johnson so far. Chester Rogers, a big punt return on Friday, a 57-yard return for the Titans. He looks to be in pretty good shape right now in terms of making this team and making this roster. But one guy that we didn't see hardly at all was Des Fitzpatrick, the 4th-round pick for the Titans at wide receiver. And Mike Vrabel saying, after the game that he's a guy that has to show a lot more, do a lot more to warrant some playing time and some game time for the Titans. And look, we've talked a lot about, Des Fitzpatrick and what his role could be as a 4th-round pick. I've just penciled him in as to being a part of this team and to making this team. But I'll say, with as competitive as this room is, and with some guys that very clearly at this point are ahead of him and are better than him right now, I'm starting to wonder if it's possible that the Titans may move on and have to have a wide receiver room this year without Des Fitzpatrick, who you just selected in the 4th round. Now, I still find that to be hard to believe. It is a 4th rounder, so it's not like it's a 1st or 2nd rounder that you're abandoning. It's not the same thing. But Corey Curtis pointed this out earlier in the show as well. It is hard to imagine John Robinson and the Titans just saying, you know what? We were wrong this early on a 4th-round pick. What do you think of this Des Fitzpatrick situation? Is it cause for concern if you're a Titans fan? Do you think that there is a realistic possibility that Des Fitzpatrick does not make this football team on the active roster?
Is it cause for concern? Sure. And again, it's beyond like the receiver impact. Des Fitzpatrick could be having a really good camp right now and being exactly what everybody hoped he'd be, and he still probably doesn't play a ton this year.
Right.
Now, maybe he could. Maybe he could push in there, but at this point, I look at Marcus Johnson as a key guy, and I look at Josh Reynolds, who's been hurt, as a guy who still is more likely than not to matter on the field in games, okay? So it's not a big deal for this team, but it is a big deal when you move up in the 4th round, pick a receiver, and it's this much of a struggle. I would also say I still think it's unlikely certainly it's unlikely that he wouldn't be on the team. Was it a possibility like 3 weeks ago, and now is it different? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have considered it a couple weeks ago, and now it's on the table. I will say that I got a nice call during the break from our friend Jared Stillman.
You did,
which is better than the normal hate texting that he and I do when each other are on the air. But he's got some information this afternoon, so check out Stillman and Company, Caroline Fenton.
2 to 6.
2 to 6. And he's
ESPN
got information. Of course, Jared is plugged in certainly to Louisville, his alma mater. So he's got some information that I guess we would characterize as more reason for optimism on Fitzpatrick. But I will say, going off that, someone earlier was it texted, I think, or on one of the platforms was like something about attitude. I really don't think that's at all a problem. And I think that Des Fitzpatrick was, I'm sure, super impressive in interviews with teams. He's the son of a coach. He's a Michigan kid. But he's in our interactions with him, very mature and loves football, like a football guy. Like there's a lot like you think with intangibles, this is someone who's gonna figure it out and be as good as they can be. So that's important to note here. For all his struggles, and maybe TD's onto something with, too much cross training and just like let him go one spot and see if he can figure it out. But he's got to be more explosive and make more plays. But, I don't think this is I think anytime there's a rookie who's struggling, now people are going to eventually go to Isaiah Wilson, right?
Yep.
It's probably not fair, but it's natural. It's understandable. And, this is not that. Dylan Radun's not that. It's guys who are rookies who are stepping up a big time in level of play, the best level of play you can be at. And so I think the next couple weeks are very important for Des Fitzpatrick. But I don't think it's panic time yet.
Christopher on Periscope says, I think it's unlikely that he makes the team. The wide receiver room was crowded before he was even drafted, and he really hasn't done enough at this point. Now, I would argue the wide receiver room before he was drafted was not overly crowded. At least we didn't think it was. I mean, we weren't thinking about guys like Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers in the same breath as we're thinking about those guys now, and that's a credit to them. They've come in and they've played really well so far during training camp. But you're still talking about a 4th-round pick that if you expose, and Corey Curtis brought this up earlier on the show, he fully believes that if Des Fitzpatrick doesn't make the team and you expose him to waivers out there, that somebody's going to pick him up, and he's not just going to fall through the cracks to your practice squad, which when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are certainly teams that are nowhere near as talented and as blessed as the Titans are right now in their wide receiver room, and you look around and you say, 4th-round pick, rookie, why not? Let's take a flyer on this guy. So
yeah,
if you're
no,
the
he's
Titans,
probably
you've got to
right.
be willing to lose him at that point if he's not going to make the team.
Yeah, he's probably right. So I've been on the 7 train for a while, which is a big number. I mean, 6. Some teams keep 5 receivers.
Yep.
6 is kind of your standard number. 7 is a lot of receivers. So if you go through 7 again, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, I'm still at this point. I'm sticking with Josh Reynolds. I think that's another thing that you at least talk about if he can't get healthy and he can't make a big impact. And Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers are just flat out more reliable and making plays. But at this point, I'd count him in. There's 3. Okay, so right now, Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers make 5.
Yeah.
Nick Westbrook-Akina, I mean,
and he didn't play a ton Friday. And doesn't that kind of tell you about what they think of him right now?
I mean, that's how I look at it. He's a game captain, and he and Marcus Johnson have like a series, and then they sit down. That tells you but he's one of those guys I would kind of think would have been one of like yeah, we're going to count on you, but play a lot. I mean, he's still a guy who isn't going to play this year unless there are injuries. He's a special teams guy. But, I mean, okay, so where are we at now? If you've got Westbrook-Akina making the team, we at 6?
Yeah.
Okay,
so are you keeping – I mean, we hadn't even brought up Cam Batson.
So Des Fitzpatrick makes 7. And then, by the way, the talk of camp, Raisin McMath is out. Cam Batson is out. Mason Kinsey is out. And, I mean, he is out. I mean, Mason Kinsey, I think, is a definite practice squad candidate, and I don't buy that another team is going to take him for their active roster. I think you'd feel safe with him if you want him on your practice squad, and I think they would. I think he'd give the defense a good look. But, yeah, right now, so that group with 7 counts out McMath and Batson. And I think Batson is probably going to get hosed here. You know, I mean, it's the numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, this receiver room is so different. He's seen it change so much in his time here.
Well, it's a tough balance, though, because if I'm a Titans fan, I don't know that I necessarily want to be giving up on a 4th-round pick at wide receiver this early into his career. I mean, he was not active, or he didn't play a ton in his first game in the preseason. In the grand scheme of things, it's not really the end of the world. Like, you're still allowed to improve as you go throughout the course of training camp here. So people just screaming bust all of a sudden with Des Fitzpatrick, it's too early for that type of talk. But I also, if I'm a Titans fan, I don't want to keep somebody on the 53-man roster who's not going to bring anything to the table this year either. So it's a really tough balance, I think, if you're Mike Vrabel and John Robinson and the Titans. Like, if you're keeping Des Fitzpatrick and there's not noticeable improvement as they move forward here, he's not going to be able to help you anywhere this year. So then you've just got him there, and you got a guy just taking up a spot at that point. I mean, to your point, it's not like even if he's at the top of his game right now, he's playing a ton this year, but maybe special teams, maybe something you can find a role for him. Right now, it doesn't feel like he's got a role with this group.
Right. Now, when you think of it in terms of moving up 4th-round pick, it's not great if that's someone who's a 0 contributor. Also, I mean, look, you've made some acquisitions in Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers who, I mean, those acquisitions look good. Like, you've done things to bolster the room here that's a positive. You've increased the overall level of play. But, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the 53 you would hope would be people who can matter on special teams. Fitzpatrick got, I think, at least 1 rep as a gunner later in the game. And then, I mean, he needs to look good in those areas too. I still just have my doubts that they cut a 4th-round pick. Maybe the IR thing is just the answer. Maybe Jared's been right all along. Just fake an injury, I guess. Put you on IR. I mean, it's not like it's never happened in the NFL.
Sure, it's happened. I don't know if that's the route to go though.
Like, ow,
my knee hurts.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation on the Titans. Got more of your thoughts to get to as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Also, we'll get a little bit deeper into the offense. How concerned are we that a lot of the starting group has not played and maybe won't play this preseason? We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
How important is it to practice when you're trying to get the offense better, but certain guys aren't out here? I know each guy is on an individual plan, but how does the offense as a whole get better when so many key pieces are missing?
I mean, there's going to be times during the season where we don't have guys, and we've been through that. So we got to get the next guy ready and continue to push through and see who takes advantage of their opportunities and who goes back out there and who works with whatever group. So, we'd like to have everybody, but the reality of that happening throughout the year is probably not likely. So, we'll just coach the guys that show up and that can practice each day.
That was Mike Vrabel talking about just the reality of the NFL, how sometimes guys are not going to be available, and that has especially been the case on the offensive side of the ball throughout training camp so far for the Tennessee Titans. And Joe Rexrode, that was the case on Friday as well. Pretty much the whole offensive line out. David Questenberry really the only guy getting action Friday night that could see meaningful time for the Titans this season on the offensive line. No Ryan Tannehill, no Derrick Henry, no A.J. Brown, no Julio Jones on Friday night for the Titans against the Falcons. If you're a Titans fan, obviously you're excited about this offense. On paper, there is a ton of talent, and this could be the most fun Titans offense that we've ever seen here this year at Nissan Stadium to watch. But are you concerned at this point, if you're a Titans fan, that they spent so little time together on the field together? Not much of Derrick Henry. Obviously, Julio Jones has been out for a couple weeks now with the injury that he's been dealing with. A.J. Brown's been hit or miss. The offensive line has not been together as a whole yet at all. How concerned would you be about this if you're a Titans fan, about the lack of time that the offense has spent together as one cohesive unit, not only in the preseason game, which we saw Friday, but really throughout the entirety of training camp as well?
Before I answer that, because Jared's voice opened the segment, I forgot to say Ian Safar on Stillman & Company. I apologize, Ian.
There you go.
Very important part of the team. Love you, Ian. And I would be somewhat concerned, a little bit, not overly, but you do think back to the opener last year. Again, no preseason games going into it, but plenty of practice. But, some guys resting and things like that. A.J. Brown, as we later found out, was dealing with a kind of significant thing that he dealt with all year. But that offense didn't look very good in the opener against a, good defense, good Denver defense. But they were
missing some guys on that Denver defense.
They were. And it was a grind. It didn't take them long in the season to get it going, but yeah, I think especially with like Tannehill throwing to Julio Jones, I think that's just a big thing. He's got great chemistry with A.J. Brown and Anthony Ferkser. And I think Julio Jones and Josh Reynolds, you really want to build some of that. There's a lot of little things that go into completing passes versus not completing passes. And it's very, very down to the inch at times. Now, Marcus Johnson and Tannehill have built some great rapport, as we've seen just about daily in camp, and that's a positive. You have another guy who you feel like can go out and make plays in this offense if needed in Marcus Johnson. So, and Rodgers too, Chester Rodgers to a little bit lesser extent. So that's the big thing to me is the passing chemistry. I would also say the offensive line injuries. Nate Davis got back. I don't think Saffold is a big thing. Obviously Lewan's coming back and all is positive on his comeback. But, Ben Jones has been gone for a while. And that center position, Daniel Munyer has struggled mightily just to not have misfires on his snaps. He struggled mightily as a blocker Friday. So I'd be a little bit concerned about that position right now. Jones and Brewer need them back healthy.
Well, Christopher on Periscope says, if by the third preseason game the starters aren't out there playing, then I'll be worried. I think this week is it, to me.
I agree.
I think this is going to basically turn into the dress rehearsal this week against Tampa Bay, because my guess, and look, I don't know this, I could be wrong, but my guess is that the third preseason game this year is basically going to be the fourth preseason game from years past, and starters aren't going to play. It's going to be an evaluation tool for guys that are trying to make the back part of that roster. Quite frankly, it's going to be brutal to watch. And I expect the third preseason game this year to basically be like the fourth preseason game historically has been. So to me, like if Julio Jones isn't out there playing Saturday, which at this point I doubt very seriously Julio Jones is going to be out there playing on Saturday. Like if some of these starters aren't back this week against Tampa Bay, they're probably not playing in the preseason, would be my guess.
Yeah, you could make a case for the third preseason game to be a dress rehearsal just because of the time frame.
Right.
It's the same time frame in front of the actual opener as obviously like the third game. And it's just that there's now just this empty week when normally you'd have that fourth game, cut down your roster, everybody knows nobody of significance is playing. You could make the case that the third preseason game should still be your dress rehearsal in terms of timing before the opener, but yeah, I think you're probably right that most teams are going to just cut one of the games out where they get to see their starters and just go to the, okay, let's just be safe. This is the last one, and let's figure out these 3 roster spots and get some more data on that. And if that's the case, then this is the week. So, I mean, I think the offensive line can come together in a game week of practice and be, pretty good. I mean, those guys have played together a lot now. Lowan, Saffold, Jones, Davis, those guys have played together a lot. Now, they haven't played with whoever is going to be at right tackle at all, really. I mean, Lamb is the guy right now. I think Sombrilo, and he's a guy to watch this week, could get in that, and then we'll see with Radons. Whoever it is, Sombrilo really has only played at left tackle for this team. So, I mean, there's some offensive line chemistry and stuff to work through, but I still think that's coming together pretty quickly. It's more just the Tannehill, Julio, and then Tannehill, other pass catchers.
Like, I don't care that Derrick Henry's not playing.
No.
It does not bother me in the slightest. Derrick Henry's going to be fine. There's no reason for Derrick Henry to play in the preseason. There's not much reason for him to get in team periods. Like, Derrick Henry is going to be fine. He's getting his reps. He's in good shape. He's going to be fine. The only reason I'm concerned about the Tannehill part of this is with guys like Julio Jones and Josh Reynolds. I realize that both of those guys are veterans, and they've been around the league, especially in Julio's case, for a long time. And some of it is Julio's so naturally gifted that sometimes just throw the ball up and he'll go get it. But that's not all it is. Like, there's much more that goes into playing that position, the connection between the receiver and the quarterback. And I know that they've had some time to work on that stuff, but with Julio not being on the field, it's hard to make up for that as you get closer to the season. So the quicker he could get back out there and to participate in some of this and build some of that rapport with Tannehill, that would be good. Because what you don't want to have happen if you're a Titans fan is them building that on the fly as the first game is coming around. Could they do it? Sure. Both of those guys are obviously very talented. And in Julio's case, you're talking about one of the most talented guys to ever play that position. So it's not like he can't do it, but I certainly, if I'm a Titans fan, would feel better had he been healthy and they had been working this whole time.
Yeah, well, maybe, right before the opener, those guys go out to a park and just spend a day, just working on
maybe
stuff.
So.
I mean, they have, like, when Julio was out there, they've had separate periods. We've talked about that, where Tannehill is and actually just throwing to Brown and Jones a little bit. So they've tried to take advantage of that. I feel like it wouldn't take long in a season, especially if Julio Jones is practicing, for it to be pretty strong. But it did seem like Tannehill and Corey Davis, for example, like that first year, it seemed like they weren't on the same page.
It's top 100 NFL player, Corey Davis.
A ton, yes, that's right. They weren't on the same page a ton, and then last year they were very much on the same page. So what went into that, I don't know. Maybe just, Corey Davis becoming a top 100 NFL player, apparently.
Where do we think, as the list continues to come out today, I believe they've gone up to 41 so far, with Jair Alexander, the Green Bay Packers, in at number 41.
Okay.
I believe they're picking up 40. Where do you think Julio and Derrick Henry fall on this list?
Is he 41 in the league? He that good?
Oh, yeah. He's probably higher.
I mean, he's
than that.
good.
He might be the best cornerback in the league. He's pretty good.
Yeah?
He's very good.
Am I missing on Jair Alexander a little bit? 'Cause I mean, I could see him like in the 60s.
He's pretty good.
Okay. I'll take your cheesehead.
He's pretty good.
Flavored opinion on it.
Yeah. Corey Davis should be ranked ahead of him, though.
Yeah, Corey Davis. He's not as good as Corey Davis.
Corey Davis should be, if Alexander's 41, what are they doing putting Corey Davis at 91? He should be 31.
Right. Yeah, so Corey Davis got hosed. So what, Derrick Henry and
do we think Derrick Henry
Julio
cracks
Jones?
the top 10? Is he going to make the top 10? He's a running back.
What was he last year? Do we remember?
I don't remember. But he just ran for 2,000 yards.
I feel like last year people were mad about where he landed. This is NFL Network and this is players voting, right?
Yes.
I'd say he cracks the top 10.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be a lot of respect for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. Now I have to try to find what they did last year. But Julio Jones, how high will he be?
I think pretty high.
I'll predict
So
that
who's
Julio
higher?
goes in the 20s.
Who's you think? I'll say. So you're going to say Derrick Henry's higher?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Will he be top 10? I can't
I
find.
mean, J.J. Watt's still in top 60, buddy. 66 for J.J. Watt, so top 70.
Maybe Peyton Manning will be in the top
Maybe
5.
Peyton will be in there. Maybe so.
So okay, now I remember. So Lamar Jackson was number 1 last year.
Yeah. Which is
wrong.
Yeah.
But
Brian in Portland saying Derrick Henry was number 10
he
last year.
was 10.
He needs to be the top 5 this year.
He was 10, but he was behind Christian McCaffrey, who's very good.
He's in the 40s this year. Yeah.
McCaffrey's down to the 40s.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, too. I mean, again, this is players voting, but, I mean, basically he got dropped 30-some spots for being hurt last year.
Right.
But that is a big part. So
with
by
that
the
in
way,
mind-
Julio Jones was 11 last year right after Derrick Henry. At 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was hurt too, so he'll drop.
So does Derrick Henry make the top 5?
He should be number 1.
Really? Should he?
Over Patty Mahomes, Lamar.
Number 1?
Sure.
I mean, hey.
He's the king.
Look, hey. It's a devalued position, but he's awfully good. He should be in the top 10. When you look at this, I just like with these things, I just assume most of a top 10 or top rankings are quarterbacks.
Even with players.
Except that, well, yeah, maybe not quite as much. Like obviously like an Aaron Donald's going to be super high, right?
Like shouldn't he really be number 1?
You could definitely make that case. Like all those years, there were great quarterbacks, Hall of Famers, incredible players. But like for about 10 straight years, like Lawrence Taylor should have just been number 1. Like he was just flat out the best football player in the world. But if they did this, he probably wouldn't have been.
Right.
But Corey Davis is top 100. That's all I know.
That is for sure. When we come back, we'll look around the league. A very interesting opening weekend of NFL preseason action, including a lot of love for the rookie quarterbacks out there. We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. ESPN 94.9 is the official English radio home of the Nashville Soccer Club. Listen in Wednesday as Nashville SC takes on Orlando at Nissan Stadium. The pregame starts at 7:15, and the match begins at 7:30. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth, intern Will here with you on this Monday morning. Talking NFL and a lot of interesting quarterback play over the weekend in the NFL preseason. Some rookies making their debuts, some second-year guys getting some significant playing time as well, and Justin Fields lighting it up with the Chicago Bears against the Dolphins on, I believe, Saturday is when they played. Justin Fields, 14 of 20, 142 yards and a touchdown for the Bears. He looked pretty impressive in that game on Saturday and talked after the game about how the speed of the NFL seemed a little slow to him out there. Justin Fields making some plays in his debut with the Bears.
I mean, to be fair, as Ohio State practices have like 11 future All-Pros,
there is that
running around the field. Of course, his touchdown also, like, I could have punted it to the guy,
yes.
But yeah, he looked good. We forgot to get Corey Curtis all giddy about Justin Fields.
Make him do it 2 weeks in a row.
I mean, Justin Fields is. We'll see what happens, but he's about to make a lot of people look stupid, I think. And it's just really discouraging.
Fell to 11th in the draft.
It's really discouraging that the Bears got him. Very discouraging.
Yeah.
Homer.
Well, I mean, I'm not a homer. I hate the Bears. So I'm going to.
No, you are a homer for the Buckeyes. We all know this.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Big Ohio State guy.
OH, baby.
OH. Yeah, I'm a huge Buckeye homer.
What are the last two letters?
I-O.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Trey Lance, 5 of 14 for the Niners. Now, he did have like an 80-yard touchdown pass in that game, but other than that one ball, I wasn't all that impressed with Trey Lance for the Niners. But great throw on the deep pass. Had about a 75, 80-yard touchdown.
I mean, he's obviously, and it was already trending this way, but of all these rookies, he's the one who is not pushing probably to start early. Because I do think that Mac Jones is going to be. I think Mac Jones is, although Cam is just a, what is he? No, what did Keyshawn have Cam at? Number
12.
Number 12, yeah. I think that job is potentially in jeopardy. We've already got ESPN up behind you talking about, is this the greatest quarterback draft class ever? Of course.
Good gracious.
But like apparently Zach.
One NFL preseason weekend.
Yeah. Now I will say, look, Lawrence and Fields, both. I could see them both being like special players in this league for a long time. Zach Wilson has not been great in camp, but he was efficient and fine, and they liked what they saw from him in a thrilling 12-7 win over the Giants. The battle for New York.
Yes.
Who else?
Trevor Lawrence went 6 of 9, 71 yards. Got sacked a couple times, but not a ton of action for Trevor Lawrence. 6 of 9, 71 yards. C.J. Beathard and Jake Luton saw more action, and Gardner Minshew, as well.
But he's
going to be the starter.
Yeah, Lawrence.
Even though apparently the competition is open between Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew.
Well, Gardner,
I believe you, Urban.
Gardner Minshew hasn't, gone to the bathroom in 2 weeks because number 2 is not an option for him. So,
jeez.
We're back to poop, apparently. Thought we'd gotten away from that on this episode.
He literally came out and said that last week.
Yeah. That's what he said.
Trying to see that, Joe?
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't see that. Okay, so he said number 2 is not an option.
That's what he said.
Uh-huh.
And
he's great that way. Great quote.
Yeah, that's a good quote.
Yeah.
Yay, Gardner!
Way to go, Gardner! All right, yeah.
Hold it all in, Gardner, until you win that job.
Could be holding in for a while at that point. Meanwhile, Jordan Love.
No prune juice.
You need to get that next gold jacket ready for the Packers quarterback.
Yeah.
Jordan Love out there, 12 of 17, $122 and a touchdown through the air.
Okay, so you're feeling a little better? Feeling all right about the future?
Oh, you looked okay.
Tua was good, except for one bad pick.
Yep.
Tua's really good, but you can't throw those picks.
Yeah, he throws. He's got that death pick, that Phillip Rivers death pick that he's got to get out of his game.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the Phil Rivers death pick-itis.
Yeah. He's got to find a way to fix that.
You take that away, and I've been bullish on Tua.
Yeah.
Since I saw him against Vanderbilt
That's
in the
right.
second half of a 117-3 win. I was like, wow, I think he actually is going to take Jalen Hurts' job, isn't he?
Well, Jeff Driscoll for the Texans lit it up, too. 1 of 6 for 2 yards against the Packers on Saturday.
He's got a future.
He does.
Davis Mills was 11 for 22.
Davis Mills, 11 of 22, 112 yards.
We haven't talked about the star of the Jags, though, Tim Tebow.
Oh, man.
Who apparently is just a blocking machine out there. I think the second one you're talking about, where he just gets
totally
just
thrown
annihilated.
aside.
And they got TFL.
Yeah.
A Tebow FL.
Yeah.
Well,
that
he's a
just
weapon,
goes
man.
to show you
It's
that in
it's all
training
about
camp,
weapon.
you can look. I mean, we had Mike Duraco on, says, his bold prediction on ESPN, Tebow is going to make the team. Hey, maybe he still will. But I will say the blocking, that's going to have to get better if he makes the team.
Yeah, that's part of the job.
It's not good. Which
He
I
looks
don't think
big.
is all that unexpected. He played quarterback. So
Yeah.
it's not really that big of a shocker to me that he's not a very good blocker. He's
Right.
not been doing a whole lot of blocking in his life.
But he also has to know that you have to do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can I call a shot?
Sure.
Yes.
Call your shot Monday.
Sure. Tim Tebow is going to be working for SEC Network by October.
Really? By October?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not buying Duraco's prediction that he's making this team?
No.
Okay, so working for them by October just because he gets cut and then eventually he gets back there, or like he's with the team for a while and gets cut in the season?
Yeah, does he make the team?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't see September in a Jags uniform.
So you're just saying the SEC Network after a month is like, I guess we'll bring Tebow back.
Yes.
Look, I thought he was actually pretty good at that stuff.
He's
On the
okay.
SEC countdown.
On TV?
He's all right.
Yeah.
He's all right. He's just like every time you talk, you don't have to be giving a motivational speech.
Well, there is that.
You know?
He's a very motivating
Like
guy.
analysis is what we want, not like why everything's inspirational. And again, I don't dislike Tebow, but I just, as an analyst, I want a little bit more X's and O's nitty gritty than he gave, and he's always talking about intangibles.
Yeah. By the way, Brady 1 of 2 for 9 yards over the weekend. So 2 passes for Tom Brady.
Who did he complete the pass to?
I don't know. 1 of 2 for 9
Whoever
yards.
it is, I'm sure took the football.
Why is he
and
playing in the
immediately
preseason?
put it in a trophy case. What's that?
Why is he playing in the preseason?
I don't know. I like it, Bruce Arians. Keep him on his toes,
The
man.
oldest guy in the league. Just throw him out there. Why not?
And someone said he almost got sacked, huh?
Yeah.
You got to keep
He did get
55-year-olds
sacked.
fresh.
He did get sacked?
Yeah, he got sacked.
Wow. Come on, Vrabel. If Bruce Arians can do it, let's give Derrick Henry a couple goal line carries Saturday night.
Got to make sure that,
Yeah.
the ancient football players just stay fresh. Can't stay on the
Kyle
sideline for too
Trask,
long.
who apparently ended up with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I guess I forgot about that. 4 of 15 for 35 yards.
Efficient.
That doesn't sound great. There was another name that I came across that I didn't realize. Oh, shoot. Now I hate when I think of this stuff and then I start talking about it on the air because I sound dumb. But there was a really interesting name.
Well,
I'm going to figure it out during
By the
break.
way, former Vanderbilt quarterback Kyle Shermer, 12 of 19.
You just got it.
There you go. 12 of 19 for 108 yards.
I didn't realize that he was with the Bengals.
He did have an interception.
Or
but
maybe
Kyle
I
Shermer
did.
slinging the ball around a little bit.
Well, he threw a pick six.
Well,
But
that's why I said slinging.
But still, I read that. Okay, so I wish I would have watched a little bit of that. I think Kyle Shermer is going to be in this league for a long time.
Long time.
I think he's going to be like. I mean, he's going to be like my guy Brian Hoyer. Like you're going to count on him. If he has to start, he can do it. Now again, Kyle has to get better to get to that point, but that's not bad work if you can find it.
Yeah,
backup quarterback in this league for a long time.
So right now, who is the rookie of the year in the NFL at quarterback? Is it Justin Fields? Is it Trevor Lawrence? Does Trey Lance steal the job? Is it Mac Jones? Who wins?
Well, I know Lawrence is starting from day one. I know his team will be bad. Now, I don't know when Justin Fields gets in. I think it will be pretty soon. But I also think that the Bears could be passable. They could be all right. He could make a difference and make them a playoff contender. And I think that might actually give him an edge over Trevor Lawrence getting big numbers for the 3-14 Jags. You see what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
See what
I see
where
what
I'm
you're
going with that?
Yeah.
I might actually go. Like, I may have to look at the FanDuel odds on
Rookie of the year
on Justin Fields.
Plus 500.
Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, there you go.
What's Lawrence?
Lawrence is like 250 or 275, something like that.
Okay.
And then Trey Lance was plus 600.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Trey Lance.
I think he's gonna play enough.
They're gonna go with the safe veteran who's fine. He's still pretty good. That's a wasted. Unless you think Jimmy G is gonna get hurt.
Lawrence is plus 300, Fields 500, Lance plus 600, Najee Harris plus 850.
Hey,
Najee Harris is gonna be fun to watch in this league. He's gonna be fun to watch.
By the way, Drew Lock looked pretty good the other day against Minnesota.
Yeah,
5 of 7, $151, 2 touchdowns.
Well, KJ Hamler is the guy I was waiting for, and then he was hurt all last year. Watch out for KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler could be the closest thing to Tyreek Hill that we've seen. Now we'll see.
2 catches, 105 yards.
You know, can he take the pounding in this league? I have no idea, but that guy is lethal. And by the way, you know who else looked good? You know.
Oh, I know.
Do I need to say it?
Rondale Moore.
Oh, yes. Rondale Moore lighting it up already for the Cardinals.
You can see
Be ready for him week one.
Week 1.
Be ready,
here
everybody.
in Nashville, Tennessee. When we come back,
Boiler up.
We'll get into a big win yesterday for Nashville SC as well. Lots of goals for the boys in gold yesterday. All that coming up next. Taking your reaction as well in our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
Leal whips in across, back post, Sapong, header, goal! Tie game! Mukhtar curls in the cross, Sapong, header, goal! Spectacular goal from Nashville Soccer Club. Here comes Nashville with Hani Mukhtar at the elbow of the 18. Mukhtar curling shot, deflected goal! They've done it again! Hani Mukhtar delivers.
Boys in gold on fire last night. Nashville SC destroys DC United 5-2 last night at Nissan Stadium. Hani Mukhtar, a beautiful goal. CJ Sapong puts home a couple as well. And Nashville SC, they get it done in a big way last night, 5-2, a big 3 points against DC United. And Joe Rexrode, as we started the show with, an update in the NSC Pick-to-Click competition brought to you by Camarena Tequila. The listeners strike yet again last night with 5 correct answers. CJ Sapong finds his way onto the board. Hani Mukhtar on the board last night, which means that Ryan Porth now on the board as well. Ake Loba did not score last night. So the standings are as such. The listeners at 5, yourself, Michelle Knezovic, Ryan Porth, all at 1. Robby Stanley, now the low man on the totem pole. 0 correct answers. This is a problem for me. Pick-to-click has not gone well for me in either the Nashville Predators season or Nashville SC as well.
It's kind of weird.
There's
no real reason it should be that way.
No.
But it's just how it's worked out.
Again,
I do think with this, I think like with the Preds, Pick-to-click, I mean, there's just a lot. There's more variety that you can expect in a given night, right? With Nashville SC, the listener gets the first pick. I don't want to diminish what you've done, listeners, but I mean, you're going to take.
It's a bit of an advantage.
It's an advantage. It's a smaller pool of real possibilities. But hey, they've done it, and
I mean, 5 times is pretty impressive.
It is. Yeah.
And on Friday they had the last pick.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
Yeah,
and still Sapong going off.
He's on a heater.
He is on a heater. They're on a heater. 3rd in the Eastern Conference right now.
Playing pretty well.
If they could play, I know you could say this about a whole bunch of teams in a lot of sports, like, if we just played at home all the time, it would be amazing. But seriously,
it's pretty unbelievable.
They'd make a heck of a run, right? I was gonna say hell of a run, and then I was like, I shouldn't say hell of a run. I should say heck of a run. They'd make a heck of a run if they're at home all the time.
And then you said both at the same time.
Don't want to say hell.
Well, we got out of the purgatory talk here in sports.
That's right.
Been a lot of purgatory over the last couple of weeks in sports.
Ty Cobb pulling someone into a fiery pit of. That didn't happen last week, right?
It did not.
No one spotted Ty Cobb at the Field of Dreams.
Ryan Porth, you were there last night.
Yes, I was.
That's a lot of goals for a soccer game. 7 on the board, including I thought they were in trouble early. DC United scored 3 minutes into the game, and I was like, oh, boy, this could be a rough one. And then.
Well, they always bounce back.
Not always. Most of the time, yes.
Well, most of the time at home.
It's their routine.
Yeah. At home, yeah, it kind of is always. They just bounce back. But the Mukhtar, if you've not seen the Mukhtar goal from last night,
it
go
was
check it
a
out.
beauty.
It was unbelievable. I tweeted it out at R_StanleyNHL on Twitter.
Did you? Yeah, because Ben Wright tweeted that, and I retweeted it this morning too. It's
bar down.
It is, and just the ball movement's amazing.
Well, on the 2 Sapong goals and then Mukhtar's goal, I mean, they just look like they're in complete sync.
Oh, yeah.
They had some other chances as well with those 2 and Leal. I mean, they've
got a trio right now that's rolling pretty well. I mean, and Drake Hills came out with a story on that this morning at Tennessean. But that trio of Sapong and Leal and Mukhtar, it's a pretty good trio in the MLS right now.
You wonder how Loba's going to get himself into that rotation consistently.
Well, right now he's going to be off the list in SCP.
Maybe if Robby just keeps saying his name over and over.
It's not. I'm not
Loba.
You know, I'm not going to pick him on Wednesday.
Ake
and
Loba.
He will score. Like I won't pick him Wednesday, and he'll just rifle one.
It's guaranteed. It's just your lot in life, man. I'm
man.
sorry. Maybe in fantasy football, you can turn the tables a little bit.
Oh, I will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there we go.
It's going to happen.
That's what I like to hear.
Right. Nashville Predators development camp beginning today as well. If you missed it earlier, the Predators signed UC Saros to a 4-year, $20 million contract, so $5 million per year for the Predators. They get their goaltender locked down, but some younger guys coming into the fold today. David Ferentz will be there. Philip Tomasino will be there today as well. I'm excited to see little young guys.
Gunnar Wolf-Fontaine
will be there, which I can't wait to interview him. I don't know what I'm going to ask him about other than his name.
I mean,
like I have things to ask him about other than his name, but that's all I want to talk to him about.
Joe, how does Justin pronounce it?
Gunnar Wolf-Fontaine. I don't know. I was told, by the way, on my personal text line that the other person who says Saros, other than Pete Weber, is David Poyle. And my response was, does David Poyle pronounce anyone's name correctly on this team? That can't count. That's actually a knock against Pete.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But Gunnar Wolf, like, you know how when you interview someone, we've gone on this whole thing with, like, coach, you say your name? Yeah. Like, I cannot wait to just say, Gunnar Wolf. So Gunnar Wolf. Okay, but let me throw this at you, Gunnar Wolf. Okay, no, Gunnar Wolf. Stay with me, Gunnar Wolf.
Gunnar Wolf.
On that
I have
shift
more questions
in the second
for you.
period, Gunnar Wolf.
You should say it the way Justin Bradford says it.
He has to make the team. Like, we've got to get to the point where Gunnar Wolf-Fontaine's on this team.
I want
the most popular jersey in Nashville Predators history.
I actually want Justin. I need to know how he does pronounce that name.
We do.
Say it one more time.
I can't. Gunnar Wolf-Fontaine.
That does it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow with thoughts on the Predators, the Titans, everything on the table tomorrow morning. Darren Donick and Chase is coming up next. This is ESPN 102.5 The Game.